Greetings. Let's see here. Make sure we got audio and video. Good afternoon. Welcome. Let me check the chat as well. Chat. Melvin. Testing. Good. Let's see here. So we're going to be watching some of this trial. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the story before we start.
Have you been thinking about
Yes, I have. Boom.
thinking about
Yes, I have. All right, excellent. Amazing. So we're going to be talking about this story that not many people are talking about. Good afternoon. Welcome. The trial is kind of long, so I want to be skipping past the news segments and commentary and like the lunch break. And if I have to one moment, I'll keep playing it and I'll get up and I'll leave. Plus, you guys have been riding with me, you know, Comcast. I've been kind of like hesitant. I did a test stream earlier, like a private stream, and no issues. So I'm a little like, you know, but we'll see. And there's a couple of trials going on. There's, we know the Kyle Rittenhouse, which as crazy as that trial looks, I wish I would have covered it kind of because it would have been interesting. Now it's already like towards the end. Maybe one day we could stream it. I don't know. It depends because most people have already seen it. I haven't seen it, but it's been a whole fiasco with that trial. And then also Ahmaud Arbery, the trial is going on for that as well. So there's a bunch of different things going on. Today, we're going to be listening in a little bit, some of the trial, the first day trial. It's actually the second day of the trial, but there's not much viewership. That's the channel that was streaming it had like 300 people watching. So I was like, there's not too many people tuning in. I don't know if people have interest in the story or not. But there's apparently allegedly 18 plus victims' bodies. And this guy, Billy Chemirmir, I forgot how it's even said, supposedly will go to senior homes and smother dozens of people. And he's saying he's innocent. So let me read some of this about his background. And then I'm going to play you a little timeline video. And then we're going to watch the trial, which I currently have rendering as well because I wanted to, in case there's audio issues, I wanted to make sure we could have the best audio. So I made a little bit of adjustments. So it's almost done. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. And man, I don't know, man, just think about your parents, your family, your elderly. You know, I got abuelita, my grandmother. There's a lot of people scheming and plotting on elderly people. And this guy, I mean, I guess just went under the rug or whatever it's called. Billy Chemirmir, 48, he's going to trial this week for the smothering death of 81-year-old Dallas woman, but he's been accused in court documents and police records and medical examiner reports in more than a dozen other slayings. If convicted, he will face an automatic sentence of life in prison without parole. He says he's innocent, which, don't they have the death penalty over there? I don't know. Police and prosecutors say Chemirmir posed as a healthcare worker or maintenance worker to gain access to luxury senior living communities and the private homes of elderly people in Dallas and Collin counties. Once inside, they say he smothered his victims and robbed them of jewelry and other valuables, which we're going to see some of the testimony. And it's kind of, they show a lot of images. Like they get into detail from what the brief stuff that I saw. It says, though, although it was widely reported after his arrest that Chemirmir is an undocumented immigrant, he has permanent resident status according to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He could face deportation if released from jail or prison. Chemirmir was born in Kenya in a rural area between the major cities of Eldoret and Nakuru in December 1972. He moved to the United States in the late 1990s after his older sister got visas for him and two other siblings. In North Texas, Chemirmir family owns several senior living homes, which is kind of interesting. Chemirmir's family, his own family, owns several senior living homes in McKinney and Allen. No suspicious deaths have been reported at those facilities, according to Collin County Medical Examiner's Office. Chmirmir was married in Denton County in 2004. His wife filed for divorce 2 years later, saying she didn't know where he was. She tried calling him, family members, and previous employers and searched for him online, but couldn't track him down, according to court documents. The divorce was finalized October 2006. Chmirmir was arrested in 2010 on a charge of driving while intoxicated in Addison and served 18 months of probation. Sorry about that. That's the trial. Just finished rendering. So if we need better audio. So, and served 18 months of probation. He picked up a second DWI charge in Dallas 2011. Didn't show up for court and ended up with a warrant for his arrest. For the people that are just joining, you're going to have to rewind. But this is just a little bit of context for the trial we're going to watch. The next year, he and his girlfriend argued about him coming home drunk from a strip club, according to police records. She tried to walk away, but he began punching her in the face. He then beat her on the head with a pot and kicked her in the back. When she called 911, he grabbed a knife and began stabbing a red leather love seat. Bro, if that's not like signs to get the hell out, all these crazy ass people in these crazy ass relationships, that's a sign. He was still there, angry, and when police arrived, they arrested him, and he pleaded in exchange for a 70-day sentence in the Dallas County Jail. In early 2016, Chemirmir was spotted on the property of iCkEdMeL, a high-end senior living complex in Dallas. When confronted, he gave his name as Benjamin, I guess an alias, and was told to leave. Dallas police instructed the staff to call back if he trespassed again. According to police records and court documents, it's the first time police know of that Chmirmir was at a senior living home or center. That June, iCkEdMeL staff called police and said the suspicious man was back. Chmirmir showed officers his wallet, which had IDs for both Benjamin and Billy. He was charged with criminal trespass and sentenced to 70 days in the county jail, but was released on good behavior just after 12. Police have re-examined the deaths at iCkEdMeL during the period Chmirmir was hanging around there. Phyllis, 91, and Phoebe, 94, died within a month of each other, seemingly of natural causes, but now police say Chmirmir killed both women and stole their jewelry. Another woman, Catherine, 87, died at iCkEdMeL about a month earlier. Her death was also attributed to natural causes. They just sign it off. Yeah, it's natural. And there's so many families out there. I spoke to a woman yesterday. One of the canals that I was at, where a body was found, not me. A body was found. I went there, Hollywood police, and I video recorded the canal, and I went through all these different paths. I spoke to the woman yesterday. It was a guy that was deceased. It was her ex-husband, and she reached out to me. She saw my video, and we spoke, and she thinks that death is kind of suspicious. They say he had, I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want to detract, and I'm going to make a members video, but supposedly they said his cause of death was like drowning, but he also had a heart attack. I don't know if he had a heart attack and fell in the canal, but it was also reported from her that he's a good swimmer. So she just feels like his death is something's not right about that. And it just made me think about this, because how many families are out there thinking, they have their loved ones in some sort of home or senior living facility, and it's just like, oh, well, it's the officials, it's the police, right? It's the medical examiners. They're telling you, so it's got to be what it is, what they're saying, right? They're the professionals. They're the experts. And this guy has been doing a technique, apparently, that some of these people do on their babies, right? Like the smothering thing. Isn't that something that these people, they go and it's kind of hard to trace and detect? It could get passed off as SIDS, I think. They just put a pillow and smother them. So, yeah, her death was also attributed to natural causes, but the Dallas County Medical Examiner now says her cause of death is undetermined. Chmirmir has not been indicated in the case, but Sinclair's family says investigators have told them that she was among the victims. And with that brief story that I told you, the other kicker with that is that the woman told me, with the guy that was found the body, that the guy was homeless at the time. Police, I guess this is something that they're doing. Just the cities, they're rounding up homeless people, and like they're making them take the shot. You know what shot I'm talking about? The shot that's everywhere, the vaccine. And so they didn't say it directly, but they kind of attributed that to the heart attack, which was kind of interesting to me. I was like, what? That's just a side thing. Anyway, 8 days after he was released from jail for trespassing at iCkEdMeL, police say Chmirmir went to the Tradition Prestonwood in far north Dallas and killed Joyce, 82 years old. He's been indicated in 7 other deaths at the Tradition Prestonwood Senior Living Community. 7. And there's more. He's also been accused of a total of 8 deaths at Parkview, Frisco, and Preston Place in Plano, and 4 deaths at private homes in Dallas. Richardson, and Plano. Bruh. The capital murder trial by Billy Chemirmir. Over 2 years, more than a dozen women have died in senior living communities and inside their homes. The families long believed their loved ones have died of natural causes in their North Texas senior living communities and homes. Then came a horrifying revelation. Police suspected that one man, Billy Chemirmir, had murdered them all. Who has been indicted on 18 deaths, now faces his day in court. So this video here, and thank you to Momo for sending me this article and the link to this timeline. This is a brief little timeline of 2 minutes, and then we're going to get into the trial. Let's do this.
March 19th, 2018, 91-year-old Mary Bartel was attacked in her Plano apartment. She told police a man forced his way in, smothered her with a pillow, and then stole her jewelry after she passed out. The next day, Plano police identified then 45-year-old Billy Chemirmir as a suspect. Investigators say his car had been spotted at senior living communities in the area. They found Chmirmir hours later at his North Dallas apartment, throwing a jewelry box into a dumpster. Police arrest him on outstanding warrants and take that jewelry box in for evidence. That same day, Dallas police get involved because inside that jewelry box was Lou Harris's name. When officers got to her home, they found the 81-year-old dead. She had appeared to be smothered to death. On March 21st, Chmirmir is transferred to the Dallas County Jail, now arrested for capital murder in Harris's case. At that time, his bond was set at $1 million. 2 days later, investigators announced there could be more victims and that they would start looking into the deaths of at least 750 elderly women in North Texas. They said Chmirmir used his experience as a home health care aide to target and exploit senior citizens. By May of the next year, Chmirmir was linked to the deaths of 12 elderly women in Dallas, Frisco, and Plano. All of them had been smothered by a pillow.
Who knew you could get away with that many deaths like that, just smothering? This is like one of those things. It's like taking advantage, I guess, of like a certain demographic or whatever, and I guess getting away with it. And I mean, I wonder if that was calculated on his like, just like his thought was like, I knew this is a group of people that I can target, and they're just gonna keep, and the smothering thing too, and they're just gonna keep passing. Oh, it's just a natural death.
December of 2020, that list had grown to 17 counts of capital murder, several new victims. Residents from the upscale Tradition Prestonwood Senior Living Complex were identified through a civil lawsuit. By the end of the month, an 18th charge was added. But despite the long list of charges against Chmirmir, in June, Dallas County District Attorney John Creuzot told the victims' families he would not be seeking the death
penalty. Why?
penalty. Instead, the DA's office will request 2 jury trials with the goal of securing 2 life sentences.
Is it just easier to get life sentences? Is that why? Is there some sort of calculated thing behind that?
Without the possibility of parole. In a statement, Creuzot wrote, "In effect, there will be no chance for Mr. Chmirmir to die anywhere except in a Texas prison." Chmirmir is currently being held on $17.6 million bond.
That's one of the highest bonds I've seen. I don't know if you guys have seen others. Oh, I'm going to run a quick poll too. The reason for this poll is I'm just kind of curious. Have you guys been watching the Kyle Rittenhouse trial? I just want to know because I'm wondering if I'd watch it at a later date, if you guys wanted to watch it together, or if you've already seen it, things happen, just move on. Just kind of curious for the future if you've seen that Kyle Rittenhouse thing. So I'm going to start with the trial. At the end of this too, first of all, if you guys could hit like, I'd appreciate it because nobody's really talking about this. So, and I have no idea whether there's real interest in here or not, but if you could hit like, I would appreciate that. I'm going to skip around kind of like to the start. And at the end of this too, only 37%. Okay. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you guys too if you want to continue with the trial, if you're interested, or just want to move on to other stories.
And how you approach it's a hand,
it was a love. They
in this case, correct?
Good morning, Judge. We have talked to the defense lawyer about getting some evidence in pre-admitting it.
Let me try something real quick. See if you guys like the audio on this better.
Because this be guilty.
That's it for right now, Judge.
Okay, and Mr. Warren? Regarding the exhibits that talked about the state.
Mixed.
Prosecutor Young, there was I believe, based on the conversation had between Mr. Chmirmir and Mr. Hayes, my co-counsel, that we don't have any objections to those pre-admissions. Well, the pre-admitted for the record in all purposes, and I viewed states exhibits 314 through 317 this morning, and I don't have any objections to them. For those for demonstrative purposes,
Yeah, the volume's not that much different. I think we'll stick with this. Oh, there's no closed captions. No, apparently no closed captions.
For record for all purposes. So it's a little bit of continuation of what we did the other day with other evidence. So State's Exhibit number 60 is the full deposition of Mary Bartel. And State's Exhibit number 61 is a redacted version of that same deposition. And State's Exhibits numbers 1 through 56 are the photos that were shown to Ms. Bartel during that deposition. And we would offer State 60 for record purposes and 61 for all purposes.
actually on file for Mr. Chemirmir, and that was the reason for the contact with the police department. That we don't have any objections to those pre-admissions. Well, the pre-admission for the record in all purposes, and I viewed States Exhibits 314 through 317 this morning, and I don't have any objections to them. For those for demonstrative purposes. And so we're clear for the record. We have number 60, which is the depo of Mrs. Mary Bartel. That is a complete deposition. That's record only. Number 61 is a redacted deposition of Mary Bartel, which will be admitted for all purposes. And then we have 1 through 56, which are the photos that were shown to Ms. Bartel during the deposition. Those are asked to be admitted for all purposes. Then we have 312, which is the records from offer.
The state.
And when it's their case, usually we have to stand.
All right, we'll look for judges back in.
We have to. All right, we are, of course, on the record in F1875401, which is out of the state of Texas versus Billy Chemirmir. And I wanted to take a moment to speak to each of you in regards to this trial. As we talked about last week, we know that there has been some coverage of this case, and so I need to make sure that everyone has followed the court's instructions, as well as no one has violated the court's order and instructions in not reviewing any information regarding this case. So what I need to find out from each of you, first of all, I need to find out if anyone has seen any coverage, and if you have seen that coverage, I'm going to take it a step further. So if you have seen that coverage, if it has in any way, if you have formed an opinion about the guilt innocence of Mr. Chemirmir, or if it will affect you in any way during your interpretation and viewing of the evidence and testimony in this case, as well as if it will affect your deliberations in this case. So the first question is, raise your hand if you've seen any, if there's any information that you saw that would affect your handling of this.
So this is like the very beginning. Thank you, Stephanie, for the super chat. I skipped past, this thing is like 7 hours long. So like I said, I'm skipping past the news commentary, the lunch break. Oh, we don't got time. We don't got 8 hours. So I'm going to skip, this is like the beginning. Then there's like testimony and stuff like that. So we're going to listen to the testimony. And there's specifically this one lady. Hold on, let me see if you can see. I want to really hear and see what she has to say. So, and if you're new, you just joined, just rewind it and listen to the first like 10 minutes and then just skip to where we're at now, like live. Because I kind of give you a little bit of the breakdown of the story. But this guy is supposedly 18 bodies. He posed as some sort of maintenance worker or health worker. And he was going to all these, senior community places and getting inside and smothering people, killing them and stealing all their stuff. And later on in the video too, it's pretty graphic. Like we're going to see there's pictures, everything from this one testimony, which is, I guess, is pretty in depth. And then there's the break. All right. So
case, whether it will affect.
So if you're just joining now, you still have time. You can rewind, listen a little bit, and then skip to the live thing because it's just getting started.
The guilt innocence of Mr. Chemirmir at this time, or if it will affect the way you handle or receive or interpret information and testimony in this case that will affect the deliberations in this case. If anyone experienced that. All right, I hear silence, so I'm going to ask everyone to audibly, and will it affect you in any way? No. Yes. Some of that great coffee that was free this morning. The defendant will have the opportunity to will then hear opening statements. The first.
That's what I want to hear, the opening statements.
At that time, they can they're doing everything they're supposed to do right now, meaning that they have to be present and they are not required to do anything other than what we talked about last week. Now, once the opening statements are done, we then will hear testimony. It will be the state's case in chief. You'll hear me use words like that. And the reason I'm telling you these things now, I'm just trying to give you an overlay of what to expect. So after your opening statements, you will then.
And thank you, Brandy, for the super chat. Appreciate it. And the memberships on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to have a new video, hopefully today, if it doesn't take too long. After
the state finishes their case in chief, if the defense would like to present a case, they have. You heard we typically take a morning break that we know if you feel uncomfortable or
unknown object, a deadly weapon, hereinafter called to deceive, said term. The
you last week, if you want to bring in your drinks, you are welcome to do that. You are welcome to do that. At any time, if you feel uncomfortable or you get sleepy or anything that happens, let us know. Kind of give us a little head nod or hand wave, and we'll make sure to take that break so that you can get your blood flowing and maybe shake your legs out. All right? Okay. So at this time, if I can get each and every one of you to stand up for me. Everybody stand up. Will you please raise your right hands? Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm that in the case of the state of Texas versus Billy Chemirmir, that you will a true verdict render according to the law and evidence, so help you God?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. You may all be seated. So, is the state ready to proceed?
State's ready.
And is the defense ready to proceed?
How's the audios, all right? I adjusted a little bit because it's up and down.
Defense is ready, Your Honor.
All right. Will the state please arraign the defendant?
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm about to read to you is the indictment in this case. It puts the defendant on notice of what he's been charged with, and it tells us what we have to prove. It reads, in the name by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Dallas County, state of Texas, duly organized at the January term AD 2018 of the 363rd Judicial District Court of said county, upon its oath, do present in and to the said court at said term, that Billy Chmirmir, hereinafter called defendant, on or about the 20th day of March 2018 in the county of Dallas, state of Texas, did unlawfully, then and there, intentionally cause the death of Lou T. Harris, an individual, hereinafter called the deceased, by smothering the deceased with a pillow, a deadly weapon, with his hands, a deadly weapon, and with an unknown object, a deadly weapon, the exact nature and description of which is unknown and unknowable to the grand jury. And the defendant was then and there in the course of committing and attempting to commit the offense of burglary of said deceased. And further, did unlawfully then and there intentionally cause the death of Lou T. Harris, an individual hereinafter called deceased, by smothering the deceased with a pillow, a deadly weapon, and with hands, a deadly weapon, and with an unknown object, a deadly weapon, the exact nature and description of which is unknown and unknowable to the grand jury. And the defendant did then and there in the course of committing and attempting to commit the offense of robbery of said deceased against the peace and dignity of the state, signed by the foreperson of the grand jury.
Thank you. And counsel, how does your client plead to that allegation?
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he enters a plea of not guilty.
Thank you. You all may be seated. State, are you ready to proceed with opening statement?
Yes, sir.
You may.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a case about stalking, smothering, and stealing. I'm going to take a little bit of time this morning to tell you about this case and about what you're going to hear and where we're going for the next about 4 days. All right? Last Wednesday, when we talked to y'all, it was mentioned a couple of times that this is going to be a difficult chore on your part. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think it's going to be that difficult. You just heard what I have to prove to you in that indictment. I have to prove that that man right there, Billy Chemirmir, caused the death of Lou T. Harris by smothering and then stole from her. I'm going to tell you there's going to be 3 key facts in this case that y'all need to pay attention and listen for. Number 1, you're going to hear that on March 20th in 2018, both Mr. Chmirmir and Lou T. Harris were checking out at the Walmart at Coit and Arapahoe at around 3:27 in the afternoon. Together. One's in one checkout, one's in another checkout. They walk out together. He follows her. Or he leaves at the same time, around the same time as she does, on the Walmart. At 5:50, around approximately 5:50, he is arrested by his home. And at that time, he is throwing out possessions that came from Miss Harris's house. That came from Miss Harris. You're going to hear from 2 different doctors that performed the autopsy. And they're going to tell you that Miss Harris was smothered. And that's what it's basically going to boil down to, are those 3 key facts. Now, I've worked very hard on this case. We all have. We spent a lot of time over these last 3 years going over the evidence. And I know pretty much every answer to every question you might have about Mr. Chemirmir or about this case, except for one. And that's, what's it going to take for the 14 of you all to be convinced of that indictment? And so because I don't know that, I don't know if you're like Mr. Warren's dad, who doesn't need a whole lot. Remember, he talked about that in Voir dire. It's not going to take a whole lot for him to get to that decision. But if the last couple of years have told us anything through social media and through news, that people are more skeptical these days about everything. And so because of that, I'm going to give you a full picture. Everything that the law is going to allow me to present in this case. And so to tell you about Miss Harris and about the ordeal she went through, I have to back up a little bit. And I'm going to tell you about the day before. I'm going to tell you about March 19th. And on March 19th, you're going to hear about a woman by the name of Mary Bartel. Mary Bartel lived in Plano at a retirement community in Plano. And that morning of March 19th, Billy Chemirmir went to her apartment, ordered her to go back into her bedroom, put a pillow over her face, and tried to smother her. Now, she survived, I think unbeknownst to him. And she'll be able to tell you what happened through a deposition. She has since passed away in these last 3 years. Soon thereafter, that same day, the 19th, Mr. Chmirmir is selling a ring to some individuals, a unique ring that came from the hand of Mary Bartel. We're going to follow that investigation throughout the 19th and what happened, leading to a suspect for that Mary Bartel case, Billy Chemirmir. The arrest of Billy Chemirmir, that's going to get us to the property of Miss Harris. the name of Miss Harris. We're going to get to Miss Harris's house. We're going to find Miss Harris dead inside her house. We're going to then hear that a Richardson detective, Detective Pagel, when she heard about Mr. Chemirmir, she went back and looked at one of their unattended deaths in the city of Richardson that happened. A lady by the name of Mary Brooks was found January 31st. And they're going to go back and they're going to look that on January 30th, the last time Mary Brooks was known to be alive was at that same Walmart on Coit and Arapahoe. And at that same time in the parking lot is a gray Altima known to be driven by Billy Chemirmir, sitting out there in that parking lot, stalking, waiting for someone to come out, parked right next to Mary Brooks's car. They leave together. He follows her out of there, follows her to her house, kills her, steals from her. And then the next day, on an OfferUp account, an internet platform to sell items, much like Craigslist, if you've heard of that before, a unique ring is being sold on that from his account. That ring has been identified as coming from Mary Brooks' house. That Mary Brooks, back in January, was called a natural death. They just thought an elderly woman had passed away. But after giving the information about the circumstances surrounding her death and the investigation that went into it, Dr. Bernard of the Dallas County Medical Examiner's Office changed that ruling to a homicide, to a murder. And you're also going to hear that in all these different locations, Billy Chemirmir's unique phone and the records connecting to his phone are all in those locations every step of the way. And so I'm going to tell you, we're going to take a lot of time to do this nice and thorough for those of you who might be the more skeptical kind. But you're going to come back and you're going to think about those first three things. They're both checking out at the same time. He's throwing out her, Miss Harris's jewelry box, other items, and things connected to her house, and she was smothered. And that's going to be, I believe, an easy decision on your part to find him guilty of the offense that he committed, which is capital murder. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Warren, did you make an opening statement at this time?
Your Honor, we'll reserve our right to.
Thank you so much. All right, you may call your first witness.
We'll call Karen Gateway, Judge.
So I think my goal, just for the people that are watching, because I don't, I just want to keep focused on the opening statements, the witnesses, and there's this one, because we're going to skip the commentary and the lunch break, but there's this one witness that has a lot to say, so we're going to check that out. And depending how much is left after that, we might listen into the next people that talk. But yeah, we're not going to be here 8 hours. You know what I'm saying? Or at least I don't think so. Kind of crazy this guy could just walk in there, accused of all that, walk in with a suit, normal, acting like a normal person, going through the process.
Hello, Ms. Gatewood.
Hello.
I was going to say, if you feel more comfortable testifying without your mask on, that's fine, because we have a little barrier around you.
Okay.
But it would definitely be up to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. You would please raise your right hand for me. Do you so solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you so much. You may put your hand down. Mr. Fitzmartin?
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ms. Gatewood.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
All right.
Good. Can you tell me how you were employed?
I'm employed with the City of Plano as a 911 dispatcher.
And what is a 911 dispatcher?
We do take non-emergency calls as well, so we take non-emergency and emergency calls for police, fire, and EMS.
Okay. And how is the setup there? What is it like where you work?
It's the call center, and we all have our own little spot that we sit, our console, and calls come into us individually. For 911 calls, they come to us in particular. For non-emergency calls, it's just whoever can answer it first.
Okay. And so, about how many of you all are in the room at a time? And I'm sure it varies based on.
It does vary, but anywhere from 11 to 13 usually.
Okay. And you don't get to pick your calls; they just come straight to your station.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how long have you worked there?
21 years.
Were you working on March 19th of 2018?
Yes.
Commissioner Approach?
You may.
Let me show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 57. Did you have an opportunity to look at this beforehand?
Yes, or listen to it and
Listen
see
to
it.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. And does this contain the 911 call that you took on the morning of March 19th, 2018?
Yes, it does.
Blow off State's Exhibit number 57.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State's number 57 will be admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Call 1. Call on Monday, March 19, 2018, 9 hours, 26 minutes, and 55 seconds.
I know 911. What's the address of the emergency?
We have a neighbor that we cannot awake.
Okay, what's the address?
Pardon?
What is the address?
The address is 818, no, 816.
What's the street name?
The street name is Stone Canyon,
Okay.
Preston Place.
Okay, well, is 816 the apartment number?
The apartment number is 81816.
Okay, what's the apartment complex address?
What's the address for the place? Old Shepherd Road, 5,000 Old Shepherd Road.
Okay, 5000 Old Shepherd, Preston Place Apartments?
Yes,
Okay, and it's apartment 816, is that right?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
is there a building number?
8,
Building 8. Okay, what's the phone number you're calling from?
214-986-9445.
Okay, now are you inside with your neighbor?
Yes,
Okay. And I'm going to be asking you some questions, okay?
okay,
But we do have the paramedics on the way while I ask you these questions.
all right,
Okay. And are you with the patient now?
yes.
Okay.
I am with the patient now.
Okay. And how old are they?
She must be almost 90.
Okay. Is she awake?
No, she is not awake.
Is she
We can't
breathing?
wake her up.
Is she breathing?
Yes, she is breathing.
Okay. Is her breathing completely normal?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And we're going to do a little breathing test on her to check her breathing. And I want you to say now, every single time she takes a breath in, starting immediately. Tell me the first breath.
My bad, muted. Smee said, gonna pause it for a second. One of the grandson was on WFAA this morning saying so many died and the facility covered it up. Ooh.
Okay, tell me the first breath you took.
No,
Well, it doesn't say no, tell me now if she's breathing.
now,
Okay, and then the next one,
now,
and the next one,
now,
and the next one,
now,
and then one more.
now.
Okay, thank you so much. Is she still unconscious?
We can't wake her up.
Okay. Okay, we are sending the paramedics to help you out of 5000 Old Shepherd Place to apartment 816 in building 8.
Yes,
Stay on the line, I'll tell you exactly what to do next.
okay.
Okay. Are you right by her now?
I am with her now.
Okay.
Call 2, called on Monday, March 19, 2018, 9 hours 30 minutes and 16 seconds.
Okay, I'm just, all right, well, listen carefully. Lay her flat on her back and remove any pillows.
She is on her back.
Okay?
There's no pillars.
Okay, and one more time, is she breathing?
Yes, she's
Okay.
sucking in air through her mouth.
Okay. What we're going to do is maintain her airway for her until the paramedics get there, and I'm going to give you some instructions on how to do that. Place your hand on her forehead,
Place my hand on her forehead,
and then your other hand under her neck,
my other hand under her neck,
And then
but I have to put my phone down.
can you put me on speakerphone? Do you know how to do that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
Well, let me have my neighbor do that. Hold your hand on her forehead. Put your other hand under her head,
Under her neck,
under her neck,
and tilt the head back.
and tilt her head back.
Okay? And then put your ear next to her mouth,
Put my ear next to my mouth, to her mouth.
and then can you feel or hear any breathing?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
She's breathing
Good.
through her mouth.
Now stay right by her and make sure her head is tilted back and
Her
check
head is back.
the breathing often.
Check the breathing on her.
And just leave her just like that till the paramedics get there, okay?
Okay.
And if she vomits, turn her on her side and clean out her mouth and nose.
She is not vomiting.
Okay. Well, I'll stay on the line until help arrives. And tell me when the paramedics are right with her or if anything changes.
Okay.
And what floor is her apartment on?
Pardon?
What floor is her apartment on?
First floor.
Okay, now,
And it's convenient to the driveway.
okay, good. Is her head still tilted back?
Yes, her head is tilted back.
Okay, good. Yeah, just say keep her like that. The paramedics are starting to pull into the parking lot. You'll see them before too long, but keep her just like that until they get there, okay?
Okay.
And can I get your name?
Come in.
Are they there?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let you go. You did a great job. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'll then let you go.
And that was the only call that you all, that you took that point.
Yes, that's all.
No, I'll pass on this.
Any questions, Mr. Warren?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gatewood, you are free to step down. Thank you.
May she be excused, Judge?
Yes.
No, Judge.
Objection, all right, you are free from trial. Thank you. so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
may be excused.
I spoke to this lady yesterday, the one for the people that were here before, that the body was found and she's a family member. But I spoke to this elderly lady, really nice lady, super nice. She's in Florida, and she was telling me about guns and she was giving me some really good information. She was, yeah, I carry this, I carry that. This is what I did. This is my preference. This is the clip. I was like, damn, she's putting me on game. I'm really thinking everybody needs to carry, man, because you got crazy ass people out there like this. And as far as, you know, why this isn't getting attention, I guess there's a lot of other trials. Kyle Rittenhouse, which is super big. I didn't want to cover it because I knew of all the drama. I was like, but setting the drama aside, how crazy the trial was, I was like, yo, I would have taken the ride. F it. We're going to ride through this. But I missed out on that. And then also Ahmaud Arbery, which is another very, I don't think it's as big as the Kyle one, but it's a big case. It was a big deal, you know. But this situation too, it's just kind of crazy because of all the deaths behind this. And it seems like people just kind of kept pushing it aside. And I'm sure there's a lot of families out there that are feeling some type of way. You know, I mean, I somewhat know the feeling of my father. He passed away. He offed himself, supposedly, you know, and in the back of my head, and he was in Dominican Republic at the time. In the back of my head, I always wondered, like, did he really off himself, or did something happen where somebody did something to him? And there's just no way for me to find out. We're in a completely different country. I don't know, but I've always had that thought, you know. So for some people, some families, I could only imagine, you just take it for that and that's it, and then to come to find out that no, it was actually some nut.
We'll call Steve and Tuck.
I'm gonna move it past a little bit. That's all right. It's all right. Thanks, man. I had a really nice conversation with this person yesterday. I was actually mad at my father. I used to say all kinds of stuff about suicide that at the time it wasn't the right thing. And, you know, because I used to say it's cowardly and all this kind of stuff, but it was out of anger because of what my father did. So, you know.
Good morning.
But I kind of got over that.
Morning.
Truth and nothing but the truth. Will you please raise your right hand for me? Do you so solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And you are free to testify in your mask, or you can take your mask off, whichever you feel comfortable with, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
You may proceed.
One second. Can you please state your name?
Stephen Riley Tuck.
And Mr. Tuck, how are you employed?
I work for the city of Plano, the fire department.
How long have you been with the fire department?
The Plano, I've been there a little over 13 years.
And what kind of training and experience do you have to be a fireman in your capacity?
Go through fire academy, then EMT school, which is months, and then paramedic school, which is another 9 months. Ongoing training throughout the job, just constantly evolution of training and different tactics and stuff like that.
Okay. You might need to pull that microphone a little bit closer to you or scoot up a little bit. It's uncomfortable, I know.
Yeah.
Usually I can hear you, but because you're in that deal, I can't really hear it.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me how it works, because I know that, you know, I see like fire trucks and I see ambulances and things like that. How does it work as far as your role as a fireman? So what is there different roles? Like there's some guys are sitting on the truck and some guys are sitting in an ambulance. Is that right?
Yes, we're all capable of being on the ambulance or the truck or the engine or whatever. We're all firemen, we're all EMTs or paramedics and firemen. I happen to be on a truck. So in our district, we don't have an ambulance in our station, so we get dispatched out first and wait on an ambulance. So that's why sometimes I'll be the first medic on scene with the patient before the ambulance arrives. In other districts, there might be an ambulance there, so they'll be there first. We do whatever we're supposed to do depending on the call. If it's a fire call, we kind of put the fireman hat on. If it's a medical call, you know, paramedic hat or whatever. Just kind of how each call evolves is kind of the role or training path we go down.
Okay. On March 19th, 2018, were you working in that capacity?
Yes, sir.
And what are your shifts like? Do you kind of stay there for a couple of days, or how does that work?
24 hours on and 48 hours off.
Okay. So if a call comes in and you're on duty and something happens at someone's house and they call 911 for an EMT to show up or a fire is going on, you might be the guy that shows up if you live in that district.
Correct.
Okay. So on March 19th, did you get a call to go to 5000 Old Shepherd right around 9:40, something like that in the morning?
I did.
And like you said, you're on a truck. You don't have an ambulance, so the truck arrives first. Is that right?
Yes.
And how many of y'all are on a truck that shows up?
4 of us.
And when you went inside, what did you see when you went into this apartment?
There was 2 ladies that met us at the door. We're assuming that they're the ones who called 911, and they were kind of upset and stated that their friend was in her bedroom passed out.
You don't need to get into what they were saying.
Okay.
Did they direct you to a certain location in the apartment?
Yes, to the bedroom in the apartment where we found the patient.
Okay. And what state was she in when you found her?
She was, I would say, not alert. Maybe unconscious. You can say unconscious, but once we got to her, we realized she was breathing. But we say not alert because when we walk in the room, if somebody looks at us, they're alert. She was not looking at us. Her eyes were closed, laying flat on her back, faced up at the ceiling, and arms were in an unusual position for laying on your back on the bed. The edge of the bed was higher up her thighs. It's just it's unusual finding for somebody unconscious laying on bed. Like I said, her arms were down by her side, kind of bent out like this, and just laying there. And we went up to her and noticed she was breathing, and then I believe it was our driver did a sternal rub to see if she was alert, and she didn't really wake up, but she kind of moved her lip. So then we did some more tests, and as I was running some more tests, noticed that she was talking to our driver. So we knew it wasn't, cardiac arrest or anything like that. Kind of did some more testing. She started to wake up and tell a story, and the more she woke up and became alert, the more details of that story came out. And when the ambulance got there, I told the medic on the ambulance everything that I'd seen from the patient contact to now, or to then, and then transfer care to him for transport to the hospital.
Okay. Let me kind of break this up a little bit. All right, so when you go in, and she's non-responsive.
Correct.
You had said that the first thing, or one of the first things that was done was a sternum rub?
Yes, sir.
What exactly is that?
It's a technique where you kind of take your knuckle and rub it on the sternum. It's pretty uncomfortable. So generally, if you do a sternal rub, it's to see if somebody's alert or awake or responsive. And we did that, and like I said, her mouth kind of moved, so we knew she wasn't dead, more or less.
And then you said you had run some tests. Did you put an EKG on her?
Yes. Typically, on anybody like that, we'll run a 4-lead EKG, and if that comes out normal, then we might run a 12-lead, which is more stickers. It's a full 3D view of the heart. But hers had the pacer spikes on the bottom, which are, when you print out the 4-lead, it shows the lead 2 is what we call it, and there were sharp black arrows at certain spots on that strip, and that indicates like a cardiac pacemaker or defibrillator of some sort. So then we did a 12-lead to see if it was going on, but those didn't show up on our 12-lead. So we didn't know if it was a demand defibrillator or a constant pacemaker or what. We just knew she had a pacemaker going on.
Okay. So the EKG is a test that you can run to basically look at what's going on with someone's heart.
Correct.
And there's a less detailed look in the 4-lead and then a more detailed look in the 12-lead.
Yes, sir.
And that's just the different stickers you put on when
Yes,
you
sir.
do your physical. Okay. And but by looking at the printout, you could tell that a pacemaker, some sort of a device, was going off in her heart that was helping her heart to regulate.
Yes.
All right. And then you said that she started to wake up, and what was she saying when she woke up?
Which I don't think to hear say again.
That it's her present sense impression at the time. She's unavailable at this time, and so did you use this information in part of your treatment of trying to figure out what was going on with her?
Yes.
That objection will be overruled. You may continue.
Thank you. So what was she telling you was happening when she woke up, or had happened?
She said she had a bad dream and didn't think anything of it, and then she said it again.
And what was this dream about?
She said she had a bad dream of a man that tried to smother her with a pillow, and we didn't know what to think of it,
At that time, you didn't know what was going on. You just knew that you got called to a woman
Correct.
who was laying down.
Yes.
So then you put her on a gurney,
Yes.
and then she's transported by the ambulance, which is a different driver that came and picked her up and brought her to the hospital.
Yes, sir.
Permission to vote, Judge.
You may.
Study State's Exhibit number 58. Is this the Plano Fire Rescue report that was generated as a result of this call?
Yes.
State's Exhibit number These are already in evidence. Okay, we'll offer State's Exhibit number 58. Tender to defense counsel.
All right, so State's Exhibit number 58 is the MT report, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, that will be it.
Showing you State's Exhibit number 58. Does that monitor not work next to him, Judge?
I don't believe it's turned on. We can.
Well, I just want to basically point out that we had our time of March 19th of 2018, and around 9:43 is when you're doing this assessment. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
We had talked about State's Exhibit number 41. Does that show Miss Bartel, the lady that you helped out that morning?
Yes, sir.
Here's a picture of her. State's Exhibit 31. That's her at the hospital after you all transported her, right?
I was not at the hospital.
Okay, but you know that's the same
Correct.
person.
Yes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 14. Is this her, the bedroom that you went into and where you found her?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, looking on State's Exhibit number 14, if you look up towards where there's the way the normal bed is laid out, you've got the head of the bed up here and the foot of the bed down here. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was she laying in that position where her head was up here and down here, or was she in a different position?
She was laying perpendicular to how you would normally lay in bed.
Okay, so if I'm going to put my pen, and let's say the blue cap on the pen is someone's head, is that basically the way she was laying down there?
That's the direction she was laying, yes.
Okay. And you had mentioned that her State's Exhibit number 15, that kind of the side of the bed where her legs were out over the side of that bed.
Yes.
And you had said it was in an odd position. And how exactly was it in an odd position?
It's just a position that we never see anybody in when they're in bed and unresponsive like that. The edge of the bed was barely below her butt, to where normally people don't lay down like that. We don't see that.
So if I'm
Just the presentation was unusual.
So normally, if you're sitting down, I'm going to use this chair like this. It's going to be tough to see. But if you were to lay down, you would kind of think that your legs would kind of be all the way back in, and you'd lay down like that. She's more scooted out, kind of like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
More scooted out.
And then laid back like that.
Right.
Okay. So you said you had responded to Old Shepherd Place?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 316. Is this kind of a map of the kind of far north Dallas area going up into the Plano area?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you see 5,000 Old Shepherd Place?
Yes, sir.
And you're familiar with that complex? Right?
Yes, sir.
And that's where you went to go find Miss Bartel, is that right?
Correct.
All right, I'll pass the this.
Any questions, Mr. Moore?
Just briefly, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Colton Warren, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My name is Colton Warren. I represent Mr. Chmirmir in these proceedings. I just have a few questions for you, all right? So you stated that you've been with the City of Plano Fire Department for 13 years, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the same capacity as you were back on March 19th of 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I would assume that you responded to these kind of calls on numerous occasions, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And it's it'd be fair to say that when you go to a scene and then you assess the scene, and if a person's responsive enough to convey information to you, you just take down that information that they give you. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You have no idea if what they're telling you is true and accurate. Is that right?
Correct.
That's all right now. Thank you.
Mr. Fitzmartin, you have any more questions?
Yeah, Mr. Tucker, when you said that she had mentioned that a man had come in, did she give you a description of a black man that had come in?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to object to leave.
Same.
Did she give you a description of the man as far as his race?
Yes, sir.
Or what race was that?
Black.
All right, I'll pass on this.
Mr. Warren?
Just briefly, Judge, I'm sorry. Mr. Tucker, did you at some point have a conversation with Officer, I believe it's Kemp? You know who Officer Kemp is?
I saw him out there this morning.
Okay. Do you recall seeing him back on March 19th of 2018?
I don't.
Okay. Do you recall, without going into what anyone said, do you recall her being unable to identify the race of the individual that morning, Ms. Bartel?
No, sir.
Okay. What is your testimony that initially when you came out, and you weren't speaking to her directly, but you overheard her speaking of a dream, is that correct?
She was speaking to me directly.
Okay. I thought initially you said you overheard her speaking to the person doing the stern wheel.
No, I saw she was trying to talk to him, but not really audible.
Okay. So when she told you, though, it was a dream, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all right now. Thank you.
Mr. Fitzmartin?
Nothing further.
All right, may this witness be excused?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, you may sit down. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you have, so you might have to put yourself in there as best you can with all the stuff on your bill, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have the opportunity to testify with or without your mask. It's totally up to you. You have that barrier right there, so it's totally up to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You may proceed, Mr. Fitzmartin.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Officer Kemp. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Please introduce yourself.
I am Officer Jamal Kemp, JamalKemp with the Plano Police Department.
How long have you been with the Plano Police Department?
13 years.
And what are your duties there at the Plano Police Department?
I am a patrol officer in the patrol division.
So if I were to live in your area and I called 911 and I need someone to come help me, you might be the guy that shows up and knocks on my door.
Yes.
All right. Part of your duties, do you respond to assist when other officers need someone who's on duty to come and cover for them?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm going to direct your attention back to March 19th, 2018. Did you respond to a call at Medical City Plan?
Yes.
Was there already another officer there at Medical City Plan?
Yes.
Who was that?
Officer Franz.
And when Officer Franz was there, Officer Franz was working an off-duty job, basically at Medical City, being like kind of official security.
Yes.
And he had called you in to take a report from an individual that's there at the hospital.
Yes.
So, did you get to meet a woman by the name of Mary Bartel?
Yes.
She states exhibit number 32. that Ms. Bartel?
Yes, it is.
And what is your role when you go and talk to an individual like this?
To take the initial report.
Once you, and did you talk to her about what had happened to her?
Yes, I did.
After you take that initial report, what do you do with that information?
Once we take the initial report and we find out the information, there are various things we can do. In this situation, I contacted a detective.
Are there times when, in situations like this, where you might be the one that generates the report, writes the whole thing, does the investigation, and turns that in? Other times you would bring in a detective based on the information that you get.
Yes, that's correct.
Did you notice on Ms. Bartel that she had some red marks on her face, on her nose, and on her chin?
Yes, I did.
And when you, based on the information that you got from her, you said you called the detective. Did the detective show up?
Yes.
Is that Detective Martinez?
Judge, I'm sorry, I'd like to object to continue leading, Your Honor.
So your objection to the meeting,
Yes, Your Honor.
sustained.
All right, tell me who showed up.
Detective Martinez and Detective Jeanette.
And what happens when what happens to the roles when they arrive?
They take over the investigation. I brief them briefly, and then they continue the investigation.
What did you do next?
I then went to the Plano Fire Department and spoke with a fire lieutenant.
Do you know his name?
I do, but I can't pronounce it.
Do you have your report there?
I do.
Can you spell his name for the record?
Yes. Lieutenant LT dot SHAHA, N as in Nancy, D as in David, E Edward, H as in Henry.
So it was not it was the lieutenant on the scene there. It wasn't Fireman Tuck that just testified.
Correct.
And then was that basically continuing the investigation, getting information from the lieutenant?
Yes, that's correct.
And what do you do with that information?
I put that information in my report, and if need be, I can call the detective and let him know what's going on, but ultimately, it ends up in my report.
Judge, at this time we'll offer State's Exhibit number 59, which is the medical records for Mary Bartel from the Medical City Plan.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right. States number 59 will be admitted.
That's for all purposes, Judge.
It will be admitted for all purposes.
I'll pass with this.
Madam President?
All right. So, may this officer be excused?
Nothing, no, Judge.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I heard a long pause.
Madam President?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Come on up, Skip, how are you?
I'm moving.
Someone said we just reported to you to refresh your memory. Okay, in the same
Used to use someone to Medical City. That's
Not even talking. After this part, we're going to skip past the commentary and we're going to watch the witness. My bad.
Officer Kent, when did you compile this report?
March 19th, 2018.
After your interaction with Ms. Bartel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you stated that your coworker or colleague officer who asked you to report or to come up there to the Plano medical setting?
It was Officer Franz that had made the request.
And he was there working basically security for the hospital, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as you appear, so are you the first officer, I guess, on duty to appear and speak to Ms. Bartel?
I believe so, yes.
And when you spoke to Ms. Bartel, isn't it true that she was unable to give you the race of the individual she alleged attacked her?
Yes.
That's all I got.
Anything further from the side?
Nothing further, may he be excused?
Yes, Mr. Warren, may we give the excuse?
No objection, John.
All right, you may step down. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Somebody said it's so nice to watch a civilized trial, right? But people don't like civility. People like crazy. The internet likes crazy, insanity, screaming, jumping over the counters. The judge is going crazy. The attorney's going crazy. So we're gonna skip past to the witness now.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may.
We'll call Mary Bartel for deposition.
And for the record, Mr. Chmirmir, what exhibit number is this? I believe it was 2. It is 61. So this is the deposition of Mary Bartel, and it was already admitted for all purposes, and that would be State's Exhibit number 61.
Thank you.
Glenn Fitzmartin for the state of Texas. Okay, for Mr. Chmirmir.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Okay, can you please introduce yourself and spell your name?
I'm Mary A. Bartel. Mary is the usual spelling, M-A-R-Y. A, my middle initial, and Bartel is B, as in Bob, A-R-T-E-L.
And Ms. Bartel, when were you born?
March 3rd, 1927.
And where were you born?
At Linden, Illinois, L-Y-N-D-O-N, Illinois.
Okay. And it's sometime, did you move to Texas?
Yes, that was in, that was a little over 6 years ago.
Okay, it would be around 2012?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to say yes or no for the court reporter, sorry.
Is
that a yes? You have to say yes or no instead of
yes.
Okay. And three of your three boys have moved into the Dallas area. Is that right?
The 3 sons all lived here at the time. Well, now one has moved with his wife to Carrollton, but that's only a few more minutes away.
Okay. And I sometimes use the word Dallas for all of this whole area, and I apologize about that.
That's okay.
But you, when you moved to Texas in 2012, where did you move to?
Where I was residing before I tripped and fell and broke my femur and had to have hip surgery. at Preston Place Independent Living. That's where my husband and I moved and where I continue to live.
Okay. And you moved in there, and that's at 5000 Old Shepherd.
That's correct.
And that's actually in Plano and in Collin County.
That's true.
And you all had and you're in the same apartment now.
Yes.
If you were able to move back there, and you still own that apartment,
Yeah.
or rent that apartment.
Rent it by the month.
Okay. And it's the same one that you and your husband have moved into.
That's true.
It's a 2-bedroom.
2-bedroom, 2 baths.
All right. Now, why is it? Obviously, you have sons in this area. Was your husband's health starting to fail a bit at that time?
That's why we were considering moving here, yes. Then our daughters, the 3 daughters who are still in the Midwest, still living where they lived in 2012, they were 2 to 5 hours away from where we were living in Rockford, Illinois. So when my husband would have a medical emergency, 2 to 5 hours before any of them could get there. And yes, I wanted to come here.
Because you're about 15 minutes away from your 3 boys, in maybe different directions, but about 15
That's
minutes.
correct.
All right.
That's correct.
And then I think you might have already mentioned this, but your husband passed away in 2015.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So now that you're still living in the same place, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about your normal activities that you would have at your apartment. Kind of what your normal daily schedule would be.
Okay.
Tell me what that was like prior to the reason why we're here. Okay, what was your normal schedule?
Okay. Ever since I retired, and in the summertime, when I didn't have classes that day, I would always go to 6:30 Mass in the morning, either in Rockford when we lived there, or when we came here. 6:30 Mass right here at Prince of Peace.
All right, and that's in Plano.
Yes, 7/10 of a mile from where I live.
All right. So you make the 6:30 Mass, and I know those go pretty fast at 6:30 in the morning.
That's 5 days a week, and normally on Saturday the Mass would be 9 o'clock. It varies a little bit as to whether it's during the school year or summertime, or
right.
which priests are on vacation or whatever.
Sure. So you would make that, and then when you come home, what was your normal routine after Mass?
I guess we can go with after my husband passed away.
Yes, absolutely. Around this time that we're...
Okay. So I would get home, around about 7:15, something like that. And I would have breakfast. And then I would usually, my sister-in-law in Rock Island, Illinois.
So yeah, this video, like the video that we're watching, this is I guess a 2018 interview. Huh? What?
She and I have always been good friends, and so some days I would call her a little before 8 o'clock in the morning. I would call her usually at least once a week, or I might call some other friends. I still had a lot of friends who were living then who are not living now.
Okay.
When I'm 91, that's the way it works.
Okay.
And and then I would like to read the paper for a few minutes, the Dallas Morning News, and then I would usually go to the computer room.
Damn, Dallas is Dallas that behind? I think I've heard of that happening. Like they'll do a thing in preparation for the trial because the person may be elderly. Damn, Dallas is that behind that they got to get like these interviews before the trial because it takes so long. Holy crap. You kill 18 people, it just goes on for years.
And check to see
Jesus.
if I had any emails and write emails and so on and so forth. And then 6 days a week, I would always walk to aerobic exercises at our veranda. That's our center where we have, we can eat lunch, or they have various activities there, including aerobics.
And that was kind of your normal morning routine?
Yes, yes.
Some days might differ, but if it was a normal day, that's what you might do. Did they provide food for you there at Parkview, as far as breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
No, you can purchase lunch and dinner there if you wish. And lunch is, normally people go to the dining room in the veranda, the community center, for lunch, although you could have it delivered if you want to. The evening meal, if you order it, is always delivered to your apartment.
Okay. Did you make use of that, or would you kind of fix your own food?
I usually fixed my own food. Seniors have a lot of different do's and don'ts when it comes to eating.
Okay. So you would figure out what the do's are for you and just do that? Is that
yes,
right? Okay.
That's true.
Now, we didn't really talk too much about Parkview. Is it an independent living? Is that what you would call it?
It's independent living. Yes.
Do they have assisted living as well there?
No, just independent. That's all.
Okay. And do they provide healthcare workers if you need it, or do you have to hire that from the outside?
They would prefer that you use the ones they have vetted.
Okay.
And agree that their backgrounds are okay. But with the change of ownership that we had, I guess it was in this last spring, they said if, it hadn't been that way in the past, but that if you had a caretaker that you brought from the outside rather than getting someone through our office, that then you would have to make sure that you would have to pay for a background check for them.
All right. Now, this Parkview, do the doors to the apartments, they open to the outside world, or is it a hallway?
You're talking about Preston Place. That's where I live.
I'm sorry, yeah, Preston Place.
Preston Place.
Okay, Preston Place.
Well, my apartment, there are 224 apartments there at Preston Place, and 15 of them are 2-bedroom, 2 baths like mine. So my apartment was originally 2 apartments, and they put them together to make 1 apartment, or 15 of those. So yes, the doors do open out, and so I have 2 outside doors that go into the breezeway, and then there are 2 doors that go out to the patio and the storage area.
And you're on the first floor?
That's correct.
What's your apartment number?
816.
And so there's a number of different buildings. What building are you in?
8.
Building 8. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you now about the date of March 19th.
All right.
That morning, was that one of those typical mornings where you went to church at 6:30?
Yes, it was.
At Prince of Peace?
That's correct.
And when you came home, did you have one of those phone calls like you had mentioned to your sister-in-law?
Yes, I did. After I had eaten breakfast, I called my sister-in-law in Rock Island. Her husband had passed away. My dad and my husband's brother, my brother-in-law in Rock Island had passed away earlier this year. So, I think I mentioned earlier, I would usually call my sister-in-law at least once a week. So I called her a few minutes before 8 o'clock because I could usually reach her at home at that time. And so we talked for 15 or 20 minutes, and then I read the newspaper for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, I don't know. And that would be about right, 15 to 20 on each one. And then I went to the computer room because I was going to send an email to my children about the phone call, because they're very fond of their Aunt Dawn too, and are always asking about her and how she's doing. And so I was at the computer. It was about 8:30 on this Monday, March 19th, and I heard this very insistent rapping at the door, and I wasn't sure with my poor hearing, even though I have hearing aids, I wasn't sure whether it was my door that was being knocked at or rapped at, or whether it was across the breezeway. I couldn't tell.
So just let me stop you there. So does your door and then would it be 817 is across the hall from you?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how those numbers go.
Whatever the number is, would it be directly across the hall, like the doors kind of opened up into each other?
Well, if I opened this door, for example, the main door that I used for 816, if I opened the door, would open, let's see, it opened inward, I believe, didn't it?
You can't ask him any
no,
questions.
no,
It's
I can't
okay.
ask
It's
him.
okay. Your son's sitting next to you, but you can't ask him.
No, I know that's true.
Yeah,
I know that's true.
don't worry about how it
Okay.
opens, but directly
All right,
across
the door opened inward, because I remember when I went to the door, and you know, they say before you open the door, ask, who is it? Well, if it's one of my neighbors, they're probably as deaf as I am, and I would never know who was at the door.
Okay.
So anyway, the door was opening inward, and when my eyes were just fixated on these green rubber gloves that I saw. And I knew instantly when I saw those two green rubber gloves, number one, I should not have opened the door. Number two, my life was in grave danger. I tried to push the door shut, but my perpetrator is 45 and I'm 91, so I didn't have any success in pushing the door shut.
Okay.
So he was inside in my apartment, and he said, "Don't fight me, lie on the bed." So I did as he said, because I knew I could not overpower him physically. And of course, as soon as I lay down on the bed, she told me to lie down on the bed. Anyway, he just smashed a pillow down hard over my face and my chest, and I just couldn't breathe. And I tried to move this left hand under the pillow to get to my medical alert button. I'm not wearing it here because it doesn't work more than 700 or 800 feet from the monitor. Anyway, it was totally impossible for me to even, the pillow was slammed down so hard over my head and my chest that there was no way I could even move my hand toward the medical alert button. So anyway, after, I don't know, 3 minutes or however long, it seemed longer than that, of course, that he was just using all his weight to keep me from breathing at all. I passed out. And as soon as I lost consciousness, he took my...
Hold on, let me slow you down.
All right.
Let me slow you down, okay. Because I need to break this up a tad bit, okay? So you heard a knocking on the door, and you went and you opened the door, is that right?
That's correct.
Did you have to unlock the door to open the door?
Yes.
Do you normally keep your door locked?
Yes.
When you opened the door, could you see the individual on the outside? Did you see his face? Did you ever look at his face?
I was fixated by the green rubber gloves.
Okay, so you never did get a look at his face?
No, I did not.
Would you be able to tell what race he was, or how tall he was, or how much he weighed?
The short answer is no.
So when you came to the door, you fixated on the hands and the rubber gloves.
I wonder why they paused that, or whatever they did.
Is that right?
That's correct.
When he came in, did he said to you, "Don't fight me," and get or lay on the bed? Is that right?
Lie on the bed.
Could you detect an accent to his voice at that time in any way, shape, or form?
Well, no, I'd have to say no because...
You did. That's fine. Then, did you walk to your bed? Did he pull you to your bed, or did you just do exactly what she said?
I walked in to the bed, and I put my head down on the bed on my body, and then he slammed the pillow down hard.
And the pillow that he used, he got off of your bed. Is that right?
That's correct.
How many pillows do you think were on your bed at the time?
2.
Do you know which pillow he used that was on your bed?
Yes, he used the one that I normally slept on.
All right. And was there a pillowcase on that pillow?
Oh, yes.
Now, after he puts the pillow on your face, did you struggle with him at all?
No, because, well, I mentioned how
You tried to get to your call button.
And the pillow was smashed down so hard I couldn't even get my hand underneath it.
Okay. That call button, if you were to hit it, what happens to that? Where does that call go to?
It goes to the call center, and they immediately, there's this loud, I didn't set it off, but this is the way it works. There's this loud squawking noise in the apartment, which just, you couldn't miss it no matter how deaf you were. Emergency, 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 and so on.
Does it call someone at Preston Place, or is it an outside contractor that it calls?
I think it probably calls the closest fire station with EMTs.
the next thing that happened after he puts the pillow over your face, you try to press the button, is that you know that you passed out? Or
I lost consciousness.
What is the next thing that you remember happening after that time?
All right. I came to when I was on a gurney with the EMTs outside my bedroom in my dining room area.
Okay.
And I said to the EMTs, could you please take me to Med Center of Plano? And they already had the information from my refrigerator, and they said yes.
Were any of your friends at your apartment at that point in time?
Yes. Jackie Midkiff, who lives in my building, 8, and she and I would walk to aerobic exercises in the veranda 6 days a week.
Okay. Was there anybody else, any of your other friends in your apartment?
Yes. Betty Brady, who lived across, she lived in the same corridor. She came by to go to exercise too, and Jackie had already, she tried the door when she was there by herself.
Let me stop you there, because we're not going to go into, because she would have had to have told you that.
Yes, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I want to get into what everybody
All right, I came to, I regained consciousness. I was getting oxygen when I was on a gurney outside my bedroom.
Did they transport you to the hospital you wanted to go to?
Yes, and may I add, there was also another friend.
Okay, who was that?
My registered nurse friend, Barbara Quarry. It's Quarrry. She and Jackie and Betty Brady were the 3 people that I saw in my apartment when I regained consciousness.
Okay. And you were transported to the hospital through the ambulance?
That's correct.
Did any of your friends ride with you in the ambulance? Or was it just the paramedics?
No, they did not. I don't think that's allowed.
Okay. So when you get to the hospital, at some point in time, your son, John, is called. Is that right? Or how does that happen?
I think they called him while I was still in my apartment.
Okay. Did they use your phone to do that?
I think they used my cell phone.
Okay. At that time, where was John?
He was at the Denver airport on his way to my sister-in-law's funeral in Idaho.
Okay. At some point in time, when you get to the hospital, do your other sons show up at the hospital?
Yes, they were there, Rick and Tom. They were there, I think about as soon as I got there.
Okay. At some point in time, do you talk to the police officers at the hospital?
Yes.
Now, was there some question, did the police initially not think that you may not have been attacked like you were? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember exactly.
All right. And but you were able to convince them that it really was an attack?
Actually, this was after the examination, and to answer your question, I almost have to tell something that was told to me by my oldest son, Rick.
Okay. Well, let's do this. when you came to, did you notice on your hands, or did someone notice on your hands that you were missing some jewelry?
Well, I noticed it.
All right. What were you missing on your hands?
I was missing my engagement ring and my wedding ring.
All right, so you're pointing to your left hand at this point in time.
Yes.
You had a wedding band. Was it a gold wedding band?
Yes.
And then a engagement ring, and it had a diamond
Yes.
on it on your left hand ring finger.
Yes, that's correct.
Did you normally wear a ring on your right hand?
Yes, my husband gave me a diamond ring about 50 years previously, and I always wore that on my right hand.
And it was a unique looking ring, is that right?
Yes, yes.
It had a stone in the middle and then maybe 3 smaller stones on either side.
That's correct.
And a kind of little design pattern to either side.
Yes, that's correct.
So you knew those were gone at the hospital. Did you know of anything else that was missing from your apartment at the hospital? You didn't know what was missing there at that time?
I don't think I realized the other 4 pieces of jewelry that were missing while I was on my way to the emergency room.
Okay. When you got back to your apartment, at some point in time you were allowed back to your apartment, is that right?
Yes, not the first 2 days. It was a crime scene.
Okay. When you got back in there, did you look around and notice that there are some other pieces of jewelry that are missing?
Yes, there were 4 that were missing.
What did those generally look like?
Well, one was a gold locket from the Vatican library. It opened in it, and my son Tom and his wife gave me that 1 year after my husband passed away. It had my husband's picture in it. And then there were, there were 2 other gold locket or gold crucifixes that were missing from the jewelry box that was on top of the dresser at the foot of my bed. And there was also a silver-plated Swarovski bracelet missing from the box that was there on at the foot of my bed.
On top of the dresser that was there.
That's correct.
Now, you have, at some point in time, were you given a pacemaker in your heart?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Okay. Tell me about that. When did you get a pacemaker?
I had a non-functioning right kidney removed, and I can't remember whether it was 2013. It must have been 2014. I know my husband was still alive. 2014, and I had the surgery in the afternoon, and that evening my heart was only beating 5 times per minute.
Okay. So they decided to do something about that.
Yes. Yeah, they called the superintendent of the hospital 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what they thought he would do, but
Okay. So after that, you had a pacemaker that helps you to regulate your heartbeat. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, in your apartment, there are 4 doors that lead to the outside.
That's correct.
There are 2 doors that would have been the front doors of the 2 apartments that were put together. And then there are 2 patio doors that lead
That's
to the
correct.
outside. Do you normally use that, the door that the man came in, is that your normal door that you would use to go in and out?
Yes, it is.
Do you ever use the other front door?
Well, the one that opens off my dining room area, I have a rose bush out there that I water every day or two.
I'm talking about the original front doors, okay?
Oh.
Do you ever use the original? I know you use the one front door the man came in.
But I don't use the other one.
You don't ever use that other one?
No.
Okay, that stays locked and that, you don't go in that thing.
That's correct.
Now, there are two patio doors.
Yes.
One off of your, basically off the living room area, and one off of what would be the dining room area.
Correct.
Do you go out those doors?
Well, I was trying to explain, but I didn't explain it very well, I guess. I did have 2 blooming rose bushes on each patio, but the one off my living room, winter killed, frostbite or whatever.
Okay. So that patio door, would you normally keep both of those patio doors locked?
To the best of my knowledge, they would always be locked.
And when you're in your apartment, normally, when you walked in your door, do you normally lock your front door?
Oh, yes, immediately.
So you would always keep those doors locked, all exterior doors?
That's my intention.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm going to show you some pictures, okay?
All right. All right.
Now what I've done is marked all of these with a sticker, okay, on the bottom and a number, and that's the way we're going to have to be able to refer to them. I've got your name underneath each one of the numbers, okay? So first I want to show you what's been...
Oh, shit. Sorry, my bad.
Trying to explain, but I didn't explain it very well. To the best of my...
Doors locked, all exterior doors. Now, your name...
I was kind of scrolling to see what we got, how much more we got. But yeah, they're going to take us through the images. I wanted to let Grandma kind of speak and tell her experience. But after that, then there's another break, which we're going to skip past. I mean, I'm really curious what they had to say today, because today's trial got cut short. So, and there's some other testimony. I don't know how people do it, like the 8 hours. Oof. I don't know how they do it.
Underneath each one of the numbers, okay? So first I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 1 for Bartel. Does this, what are we looking at when we look at this?
Well, we're looking at the Preston Place Retirement Community and the layout of the buildings.
So it's on the corner of Preston Road and Old
Shepherd Place.
All right. And we see a number of buildings. Is this, how many apartments are there in this?
224.
Now, do you hold, which building is your building?
Well, mine is building 8.
You can go ahead and circle it on State's Exhibit number 1.
This is rather...
So if you have Old Shepherd up here, and the pool is here, is your area down there?
Let's see. Come in, I go that way. And I go this way. Okay, so this is...
If you don't know, that's fine.
This should be my building here, I guess.
Well, if you don't, I don't want you to guess, so don't mark it if you're guessing. If it's not that building, that's fine.
It's that one.
Okay. Well, you can go ahead and circle the one you think it is, that's fine. Now, let me ask you this, are you about to circle this one on the bottom right? Is there any greenery around your building, like grass?
Yeah, there's grass.
Okay, this building here doesn't have any grass around it.
Well, there's a sidewalk in front, and then there's some grass. This is surprising because there's a parking lot in front of my place.
And then there's a parking lot in the front, and then is there a kind of an open grass green area behind it?
Back,
Okay, because this building over here has a parking lot in the front and a green area in the back. But if you don't know, that's fine.
I'm not sure from the looks of this
Okay.
diagram.
Okay, let's just move on, okay? So here's State's Exhibit number 2. Is this a layout of your apartment?
Kyle? I don't think so. I'm going to take a look. Oh.
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. And the door that, in which one of these bedrooms on State's Exhibit number 2 would be the bedroom that you normally slept in?
This one.
Okay, so the one in the top left-hand corner of the diagram. And then it says back here, because we got this off the internet, is that the door that you would normally use?
Yes.
The one that says back?
Yes, that's one that I would normally use.
And is that the one that the man came in?
Yes, it is.
All right. And then over on the other side, you see it says front, but that's the door you would normally keep locked.
That's correct.
Now we have a living room and a dining room.
Yes.
The living room, the patio and balcony, is that the patio and balcony where you said the rose bush died?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and on the other side of that patio and balcony out there, does that kind of open up into a green
Grass,
space?
the area.
Okay, and there is a walkway out there, is that right?
Directly behind, yes, there is a sidewalk.
Going back to your front door, where is the parking lot from your front door on this diagram? Would it be?
Actually, it's out here, because if I look out my bedroom window, it's right there, or if I look out here, I can see the parking lot.
Okay, so if you went out of the dining room door, out in the patio balcony, you would be out into the parking lot area out there. So
Yes, it's not a balcony, could I mark through there?
you can mark through it if you'd like to.
Because it's just a patio. Floor.
It's just a patio. Okay. All right, there's no balcony on that side either.
No.
So you can go ahead and mark through that. Okay. All right, so outside the patio, you would look out, and that would be a parking lot outside the patio connected to the dining room.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 3 for Bartel. And this is your building, is that right? Building 8.
Yes, it is.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 4 for Bartel, is this that front door that we've been talking about?
Yes, that's the front door that I use.
That you would go in and out of, and that's the same front door that the man came in through?
That's correct.
And if we look at State's Exhibit number 5 for Bartel, it's just a close-up that just shows the number of your apartment door.
Yes, that's correct also.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 6 for Bartel is this. When we step inside your front door, is this what we see as far as the dining room side of your
Yes,
apartment?
it is.
Okay. And you had mentioned about reading a newspaper that morning. We see on the table a newspaper. Is that the newspaper we're talking about?
That's the one.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 7, we're a little bit further into that room, and we can now see a hallway and what looks like maybe a walker underneath a crucifix.
That's correct.
And is that, if we were to go up there and around by that walker, would that enter into your bedroom?
Yes, it's just behind this wall.
Behind the wall that has the picture of the sailboats?
That's correct.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 8, are we now kind of looking in a clockwise fashion around your apartment?
Yes.
And we still see the walker with the crucifix, but now we're looking over. Is this door that's open, is that a restroom?
Yes, bathroom.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 9 for Bartel. We're still looking to the right around your apartment, is that right?
Yes, and this is, my kitchen is back behind this granite counter.
Okay, we can see a granite countertop, there might be some keys, and maybe a coffee maker.
That's correct.
That behind that wall there where there's some, well, that's the door, but behind that door is the kitchen area.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if this door were
Closed, you'd be able to see a little bit better.
Yes.
And then further down in is getting into your living room to the left of the kitchen
Yes,
area.
that's right.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 10. Now we can see your kitchen area.
Yes.
Come further around the room. Is that right? We can still see that coffee maker
Yes.
there and the same set of keys that are on
Yes,
the
that's correct.
countertop. Now, if we moved in a little bit further, we would now see the full scope of your living room. Is that correct? And then
Yes.
we're looking at State's Exhibit number 11 for Bartel.
All right.
And out that door there is the bush that we were talking about, and I'm showing the door that's in the middle of the room. That's where that dead rose bush would be.
Yes, it was right there.
Okay. And when you said right there, you were pointing out that window that's the blinds are open on. Is that correct?
In this particular picture, yes.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 12. We keep looking now, going in that clockwise fashion, and we can see the door that you don't use. It would have been the front door to the other apartment.
Yes.
All right. And you have a TV and another sitting chair in there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, State's Exhibit number 13, Bartel. Is this the room with that's
the computer room?
The computer room. And if we look back on State's Exhibit number 2 for Bartel, where that's what is called on this the little den, the den.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Well, I call it computer room, but
okay.
It's the same.
Well, because they have den written on here, that's the room we're talking about on
That's
State's
correct.
Exhibit number 2.
Yes.
Okay. And when you were talking about going in to write an email, that's where you would have been.
Yes,
is
this is a chair in front of the computer.
Okay, and you were pointing to it's kind of off the side of the picture there.
Yes.
That's a computer chair or whatever.
Yes, yes.
To your computer. Now going back, if we look at State's Exhibit number 14 for Bartel, is this showing your bedroom that you slept in?
Yes, it is.
So right to the right of this picture, if we had backed up, we'd see that walker and the crucifix.
Outside the
room.
door of my bedroom, yes.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 15 for Bartel. Now we're standing inside your room and we're seeing the kind of the side of your bed. Is that
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And State's Exhibit number 16 for Bartel. Now we're seeing the foot of your bed and the dresser you had mentioned earlier.
That's correct.
And you actually have 2 dressers there, one with a mirror and one without. Is that correct?
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 17 for Bartel. We're now looking at that, a little close-up now of the dresser with the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 18 for Bartel. This is the other dresser that does not have a mirror in the corner.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
State's Exhibit number 19 for Bartel. It's the other side of your bed. So if we're looking at your bed, this is the left side of the bed. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. I'm curious about this drawer that's open here at the bottom of this dresser, or this, I guess, whatever you want to call this.
Actually, don't tell my attacker, but that's a jewelry chest.
It is? That whole thing is a jewelry chest? Okay. Was this drawer open, do you think, that day? Would you have left that open?
I doubt it, but
You don't know for sure.
that wouldn't be my normal pattern.
Okay.
Because usually the things I wore for every day were just either on these side doors would open up, and those would normally be the things I would just wear for every day. Pieces of jewelry hanging in there.
Okay, so I'm perfectly clear on this. We're talking about the white, it looks like a small dresser. Are these all drawers that go up and
Actually, it's a jewelry chest.
It's a jewelry chest. Okay, we're gonna call it a jewelry chest. Do these drawers open and pull out? Are those separate drawers, each one of those?
Let's see, there may be, I think the top one, I don't think it pulls out because this box on top, if you take that up, then this is a lid that opens up.
All right, that's what I was going to ask you about, because you're talking about doors opening. So the lid can open up, which would make that top drawer actually stationary.
Yes.
And then there's items in there. Do these side doors
They swing open.
They swing open, so you have other items inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're looking at State's Exhibit number 19 for Bartel.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But these other, apart from the top one, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it seems like some of those might open up as drawers.
They all do, except for the top one.
Except for the top one, okay. And your normal...
I'm kind of like trying to see where this guy is going. I don't know, is there something significant later? Yes, they're drawers. Yes, they open. Okay, what's your point? Like, I'm trying to see, like, where is he going? I mean, I get it, like, whatever, but, like...
Practice is not to leave that bottom one open.
No, I wouldn't have it open because unless I was going to some very special event where I kept my more expensive jewelry there.
Did you notice anything missing from any of, from this?
No, I don't really think anything is missing from there.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 20 for Bartel. This is just more of your room, the other side of your bed.
Yes, yes.
State's Exhibit number 21 for Bartel. We're back on the dresser that has the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
And this is the top of that dresser. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, it looks like this black box that's on top of this dresser. Is that a jewelry box?
Yes, it is.
And it seems like there's other bits of jewelry that are kind of scattered around the top of the dresser.
Yes, that's true. And this is the one that had the Swarovski silver-plated bracelet in it.
And when you were pointing at this one, you're meaning the black box that has the red ribbon on it.
Yes.
Now, before this day,
I think this is what we're going to do, because I really want to see the second day, and I'm just kind of like, I get he's trying to do something, I guess, but it's like, we know doors open, drawers open, there's a door, there's a knob, like, we get it. I really want to skip to I'm going to move a little bit forward, but I want to see also today's thing at 120, where hopefully SMEE didn't lead us wrong, but they were talking about the son-in-law. SMEE, are you still in the chat? Can you give me the timeline for day 2? Because I thought you said an hour and 20 minutes. Where they were talking about the complex supposedly hiding and lying about things. I just can't take the doorknobs and the drawers. We know things open.
Okay. Were these boxes out and open like this, and jewelry moved around like
Yes, they were.
Okay. You kept that in, that's the normal look for that kind of
so.
Okay, all right. State's Exhibit number 22 for Bartel. There again, there's other items that look like jewelry there that were not taken. Is that right? Because they're still there.
Yes, that's correct.
Now you had mentioned there were 4. There were some crucifixes and there was a locket, chains or things. Were they from this area that they were taken?
Well, the 2 gold crucifixes were in this jewelry chest here.
Okay, I'm going to bring you back to State's Exhibit number 21. You're talking about it looks black in this picture. I'm not sure what it is.
Well, it's It's pretty much black.
Okay, so this black box, you're saying 2 of the crucifixes came from that black box?
Yes.
Okay, and then where were the other?
The other one, I think, was just laying in this box.
Okay.
Separate. I mean, it wasn't in a container, separate container.
And you're talking about on State's Exhibit number 21 for Bartel. This is shown as that door that's going out to the rose bush that didn't make it through the window. Okay? And it's just showing that when the police were there, the door was unlocked at the time, which is unusual for the way you run your house.
That would surprise me.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 29 for Bartel. This is standing on your patio looking out, and that rose bush should be right to the left of the photographer.
That's correct.
And then if you went a little bit further out and maybe stood on just past the bushes there, is this what else you would see in that back area on State's Exhibit 30?
Yes, you're right.
Okay. All right, now we get to the hospital, and I'm going to...
Emergency room.
And State's Exhibit number 31 for Bartel. Do you recognize who's in this picture?
Yes.
And who is in this picture?
That's a picture of me in the emergency room.
All right, and there's a green, what would you call it? A smock or
that's
whatever?
one of those lovely ones they put on you when you...
That's a hospital gown,
yes,
is that right?
Yes,
okay.
it is.
And because they were having to work on you, to get you there, so that's the gown that they gave you.
Once I got to the emergency room, yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 32 for Bartel. Is that a close-up of your face?
Yes, it shows how my nose was all smashed and how on my right cheek, the effects of having all that pressure on there, and I don't know that it's gone away yet because it takes quite a while to heal.
So it's kind of a red, it looks sort of like a light abrasion, but it's a discoloration to your face that you didn't have prior to this.
That's correct.
Your face looked more like it does on the left-hand
Yes,
side prior
yes.
to that. Okay.
In case you wondered, my dermatologist said those are wisdom spots.
I have a lot of them myself. Yes.
They were
Not as many,
a
maybe.
can.
Yes. State's Exhibit number 33. Is this a close-up of your chin, also showing, and your cheek, showing some of those red marks?
Yes.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 34. This is the right side of your face, a little bit closer up, showing those marks. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then they focused in on your nose on State's Exhibit number 35. And the cheeks.
The deep bruise there.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 36. Someone is pulling back your eyes to show your eyeballs, correct? Those are your eyeballs.
I would say so.
All right. State's Exhibit number 37 for Bartel. There it's focusing on your left eyeball. And
I think they did do an, you didn't ask me about an MRI.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 38 for Bartel. Now you're pulling down the lower parts of your eyes to show the under parts of the eyeballs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then they're showing in State's Exhibit number 39, this is your eyes more closed, but showing the inside of the eyelids, at least of your left eyelid. Correct?
Lovely. Yes.
Okay. These aren't the most flattering of pictures, I would admit, but nonetheless, they were taken. We're just going to get through them.
I was the person they were photographing.
State's number 40, your eyes again, correct?
Yes.
Now, State's Exhibit number 41 is supposed to be taken a couple of days later, maybe, but we can still see those abrasions on your face. Is that right? The red marks.
Nose and my right cheek.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 42 for Bartel. They've kind of focused in and got a little bit closer. Is that correct?
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 43 for Bartel. We're back at the hospital from this day, and that's your left hand. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And it's missing its ring that was originally on there. Is that right?
The engagement ring and the wedding ring.
And the wedding ring. And State's Exhibit number 44 from Bartel, there is you're missing your right ring finger.
The diamond ring that I wore for 50 years after my husband gave it to me.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 45 for Bartel. And is this a picture of your hand that had that unique ring that you're
yes,
missing?
that I wore on my right hand.
And you or your family provided this to the Plano Police Department as an example of what that ring looked like.
Yes, that's my understanding.
At some point in time, were you shown State's Exhibit, a picture similar to State's Exhibit number 46?
And I said, that is my ring, my diamond ring that my husband gave me 50 years ago.
And on this picture, that is not your finger, though, that ring is on?
No.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 47. Do you remember the Plano Police Department having you come down and identify some pictures?
Yes.
And inside this packet, is that what this packet is? It's shown that their version of that same State's Exhibit number 46.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And did you initial that was your ring?
Yes, I did.
And that's on the second page. On the third page, they show it to you again, and there is that same picture, and you're able to initial that. And this is on April 2nd of 2009.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This was the picture that I guess they had maybe emailed it to you, and you were able to see it, and someone had reported back. Tom, I guess, Bartel reported back that yes, that's the ring from her right hand.
Yes.
And then you initialed that as well on that same day.
Mm-hmm.
Then they also had gotten a portion of your phone activity from that morning, and it's showing that at 7:50, that's your call to Dawn Bartel, your sister-in-law.
That's correct.
State's Exhibit number 48. Is this another picture provided by you or your family that shows your wedding ring and your engagement ring?
Yes, it is.
All right. State's Exhibit number 49, Bartel. It's just a different view, but just capturing your wedding ring and your engagement ring.
Yes.
State's Exhibit number 50 for Bartel. Was there a solitaire missing at some point in time? Do you know anything about a solitaire diamond missing?
Well, this is, that's the locket.
Okay, we're talking about, well, let's jump to State's Exhibit number 53 from Bartel. Is this the locket that you're missing that would have had your husband's?
When you opened it up,
it would have your husband's picture. Okay. And State's number 52. Is this a picture off the internet or someplace that your family had found that they said this is what it looks like?
Similar
to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it's very much similar, isn't it?
Yeah, very similar. And but this picture is a picture of you in a turtleneck wearing this locket.
Yes.
If we go back to State's Exhibit number 51, you see that the chain is the same chain off the same deal. But do you remember anything about a solitaire diamond being missing and giving appraisal of it? If you don't,
I don't recall that.
Okay. Okay.
That I have that missing.
Okay, so that was it. So Stacy number 50 and Stacy number 51, you don't remember that, or you don't identify with that.
Well, like you said, the chain looks similar.
Okay, and it's fine. But Stacy number 52 and 53, you do remember having that and not being able to find that?
Oh, yes, definitely. That's the one I mentioned that was missing.
Okay. Look at Stacy Exhibit number 55. Does that look like one of the gold?
This looks more like the Swarovski silver-plated bracelet.
Okay, it had a crucifix on it?
Yes, it did, and this, of course, would tighten up, the wrist.
Okay. That's state exhibit number 55. State exhibit number 54 for Bartel?
That would be similar to one of the gold crucifixes.
Okay. So these are just pictures that someone in your family or you have found on the internet and gave to the police and said, if you find something like this, this is the types of things I'm missing.
Well, that looks very familiar, like the Swarovski silver-plated bracelet.
Okay.
That looks accurate.
And this is just a representation of one of the kind of crosses you've
It's similar.
Okay. What about station number 56? Is that also one that looks similar to the one that you are missing?
No.
Okay. 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 At this point in time, we'll offer states exhibit number 1 through 56 for purposes of this hearing.
Grandma showed up.
Now, when you're at the hospital, the police come and talk to you, is that right? And the detectives are getting your information. Do you remember them asking you about some money that you thought might be missing at the time?
Well, I was told that the apartment would be a crime scene for at least 2 days, and none of my family would have access to the apartment. And I said I was concerned because I had just been to the bank a day or two before and gotten some money that was in my purse on the floor in my bedroom.
And was there some question about how much money it was, right? They were asking you how much?
Yes, there was. And actually, the policeman was talking to my sons Rick and Tom outside the hospital room. And the policeman said, I'll go in and ask your mother how much money she got. And I know I'm only supposed to report what I heard, but story sort of loses its emphasis unless you know that the policeman said to my 2 sons, well, you know, these elderly people, when someone dies, they just go in their apartment and take all their jewelry and start wearing it.
The other people who live in the apartment, they were thinking that maybe this wasn't, that you were just losing this because other people are taking it from you.
Yeah.
But so he was going to test your memory of whether or not you were with it.
Yes, the policeman said to my, not John, he was on his way to Idaho, my other 2 sons that, he said, I'd like to talk to your mother and see what money she got at the bank. And I said, when he came in and asked me, I said, well, I had 5 or 6 $20 bills, 1 10, 8 5s, and 35 $1 bills. And he said to me, can you add that up? I said, well, yes, I can add it up, but my head isn't working the best right now. And anyway, after he talked to me, he said in the emergency room, I heard him say, I'm calling homicide right now.
Because he was convinced of that you were with it enough to tell your story.
Yes, he didn't think I had just made up my story.
Okay. 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 I'll pass it next time. Do you need a break or anything before we go along? Are you okay?
No, I don't think so.
Need more water?
That'd be nice. Thank you. That's good, thanks.
How are you doing, Ms. Bartel?
How am I doing?
Okay.
A whole lot better before I broke my leg.
I mean, I know we're reliving some bad memories today, but you're okay? You need a break at any point, so let us know.
No.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you some questions, and you may not know the answer. If you don't know, just say you don't know. And some of the things I'm asking about is because I don't know. I wasn't there. You weren't. Okay? Matter of fact, none of us were there. So you're the only person that can answer some of these questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. And as the court will probably tell you, I have a tendency to talk too fast. So if I do, just tell me to slow down or start over. And I will.
Well, you know, people with hard of hearing, if you speak slowly, I'm more apt to understand what you are saying.
Okay.
Rather than having everything run together.
Well, I will try to do that, and if I don't, just call me out on it, okay? I don't have a lot of questions for you. I think that Mr. Bismarck covered most of it, but there's a few things I just wanted to go over with you, okay?
All right.
The fella who did this to you on that day, you've never seen him there before that you know of. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And quite honestly, you wouldn't know if you had or not because you didn't identify. You couldn't identify him because you didn't really look at his face that day.
That's correct.
I think you told the police, and you repeated today that once you saw those green gloves, that's kind of what you fixated on.
Yes.
Did you? And I think you told them, the police, when they talked to you in the hospital, that you don't even know what race the fellow was.
No, that didn't bother me either because I know that, you know, when people pick someone out of a lineup, they're wrong more often than they are correct.
Well, I don't disagree, and I'm not trying to indicate that it should bother you. I don't. That's not what I'm getting at. I just mean that as far as description, you weren't able to give skin color, skin tone. I think you gave him a height of about 5'7" or 5'9". I don't remember. You gave him a height. Do you remember that?
Well, that's probably within the range. He wasn't exceptionally tall, that's sure.
And I think you said his build was similar to one of your sons.
No, I never said that. I never said there was any similarity to any of my sons.
Okay. Well, I mean...
Except that they were male.
Okay. Well, I mean, you did, but it's just you were saying he had a normal build, kind of like one of my sons. And then y'all started talking about weight. I mean, I wasn't trying to indicate that either of your sons did anything wrong, but that's...
I understand.
Okay. But that's kind of, as far as a description goes, that's about what you were able to give the police.
Yes.
And honestly, that's all you knew at the time.
Well, I knew I was in bad shape after all that.
And I'm not saying that you weren't. I'm just trying to get some specifics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't envy what you've been through, and I'm not trying to say that it didn't happen. I hope that's not the impression I'm giving. I'm just trying to make sure that we figure out if we have the right person or not. Okay?
All right.
At some point, you said there might have been a mask over his face. Do you remember telling the police that?
I do not remember.
Okay. Well, your memory today is if you told the police that might have been something you were thinking at the time, but it's not something you remember independently today.
No, and I mean, maybe I said it, I don't know.
Trying to trip up grandma. Trying to throw grandma off.
I don't recall.
Okay. But all I'm saying, you don't remember that. You don't think that's the case today as we stand here or sit here.
A mask? No, I don't think so. I doubt it.
Okay. And you didn't notice, I think Mr. Fitzmartin asked this, but you didn't notice any kind of accent or anything about his voice that stood out to you?
No, I don't was just mainly concerned about whether I could get some help before I died.
Well, and I'm glad you did. I'm just, like I say, I'm just trying to get some specifics, okay? The person who came to your house that day and roughed you up and abused you, he made you go to your bed. Were you able to determine whether or not he was actually on the bed with you, or if he was to the side of the bed, or do you have any idea where he was standing or what his position was?
I would guess, I don't know for sure, because my face, my eyes were totally blocked out by the pillow. I would sort of guess that he was also on the bed because the pillow was being slammed down and held down so hard without any let up whatsoever.
Okay. So, I mean, a guess, and you're guessing better than anybody else?
I'm guessing that he was also on the bed, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. At one point, you said he might have been wearing a long sleeve shirt. Do you remember anything about that at this point?
I don't recall. Do not recall.
Oh.
Hey.
I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but I think you also kind of described him as being well-spoken. What does that mean?
It means he was able to say, "Don't fight me, lie on the bed."
I know he said that, but what I'm saying is, what did you mean
Were they trying to cancel Grandma? What are they trying to do? Cancel her? She passed away already.
by that? Like he sounded educated, or he sounded calm?
No, just that he knew how to speak elderese.
Okay.
You don't want
The
to.
rings that were taken off your hands, were you already unconscious or passed out whenever those rings were removed? So you don't know if they were pulled off forcefully or with some...
No, I don't. I was totally unconscious.
Was there any kind of injuries left on your hands from the removal of those rings?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, they weren't that tight. I mean,
Okay. Like I've got a ring, if I want to get this off, I've got to put lotion on it, but...
no, they would come off without that.
Okay.
Because I lost some weight.
Okay. Do you know, aside from the smashing down of the pillow on your face, was there any other injuries that the individual...
You're talking about physical injuries?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I can't imagine what you went through in your mind, but I'm saying that were there any punches, kicks, thrown around, anything like that you can think of?
I guess I'd have to say I don't recollect, but I know I didn't want to stay by myself right away after that.
I don't blame you. I hope that my questions aren't offending you. There's some specific...
I understand.
Okay. I want to show you this picture 19. I know that you and Mr. Fitzmartin were talking about that jewelry chest, but that drawer, I think what you said is that drawer was not open prior to that morning?
No, I wouldn't have left it open like that.
So is it your belief that whoever attacked you also opened that drawer?
I really could not say.
Okay. But it wasn't you?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't leave it like that.
And the State Exhibit 23, I think you indicated that the crucifixes were removed from the bottom left, the empty container. Are all those other things over here, is that gold jewelry as well?
Oh, that's just a handle on, this was originally a tea box. And that gold there is just a handle. There's a handle on each side of it.
I know that, but I'm talking about like these things in the middle, that thing in the bag. It appears to be a couple of chains and some things like that.
No, Now, these are very individualized. No one would want to take anything that was that easy to identify.
Well, that may be the case, but were those gold jewelry as well? Some of those?
No, we just took the gold ones there and the gold locket that was there and the Swarovski.
Here's 24, it's kind of another view. It looks like that's what I'm talking about, that jewelry back there in those bags. Is that gold or is that just?
Oh, I think those are different awards and so on and so forth, but they're not very big.
Okay, so whoever went through there, I guess, picked out a couple things, but didn't take it all.
Well,
obviously.
Didn't want to take things that were, well, I think, I'm not sure what was going on in his head.
And I wouldn't ask that. I'm just saying that it appeared that they took some things and not other things.
Well, definitely left some things. It wasn't.
And one more question about this. Some of the chains right here look like they're kind of hanging over the dividers. Did you have it like that, or was it kind of?
I'm afraid so, I did.
Okay. So it wasn't, does it look like someone kind of grabbed it out and threw it back in, or that's just how it looked?
I don't think those were touched from the way I left them.
Okay. Did you have an impression, and I know you were not conscious for much of this, but do you have an impression or a thought whether or not he went into any of the rooms or areas of your house that day?
I would be surprised if he did, but I don't really know what happened when I was passed out.
I know, but I mean, nothing was missing from anywhere else other than your room there? Did anything look like it had been gone through, doors opened, nothing missing from the bathroom that you know of? Okay. And the time he was in there, how long do you think he was in your apartment before you lost consciousness that day?
I really don't know whether it was altogether 10 minutes or how long.
Several minutes?
Yeah. I said it might have been 10 minutes from the time he entered. I don't really know how long it takes to make someone unconscious when they're getting no air.
Well, I'm not trying to pin you down to a time. My question comes to this, and the entire time he was in there, which we agree was several minutes, but probably less than 10. Is that fair?
Well, maybe. I don't really know. I couldn't say for sure how long.
Once he got past the threshold of your door, did he say anything else to you while he was in there?
No, nothing.
So the whole time he didn't mutter anything? He didn't curse? Did you say anything to him that you can remember?
It's very hard to speak when...
I agree, but I mean, I would think if it
No,
was me,
I said nothing. It was impossible to say anything.
like if someone's hurt me, I'd say like, please stop, something like that, but there was just no conversation that entire time between either one of you.
Not when your face is mouth, chest, everything's just smashed with a pillow to suffocate you, no.
Yes, ma'am. And while that
I'm not recommending you try it, but you'll find out it doesn't work.
Okay. And while the fellow was doing that, he wasn't saying anything to you either. It was just total silence in that apartment. Was that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Waiting for me to pass out, I guess. Medical alert button.
There you go. I'm glad one of us knows what I'm trying to say. The medical alert button, does that actually go to a third party place? Is it like a...
If I had been successful and had been able to move my left hand and get it over my medical alert button, that's a big if, because the pillow was down so hard I couldn't even move my hand, my left arm. But when it does go off, like if I had fallen in the apartment or something, it makes the most awful squawking noise. It's just, just screams out, emergency, emergency, emergency. And I think that call, I believe, but I'm not positive, that it goes to the nearest fire station.
But it doesn't go to the front desk of this facility. It's a service. Okay, that's what I was talking about. It's a service that exists outside of where
yes,
if you move departments, if you move departments, it go with you.
Beg your pardon?
If you live in a different place, that service would go with you.
It could, yes.
Right. When you came to, do you know where that pillow was? The pillow that had been pushed down on your face?
I must say that was the least of my concerns, but it was still on the bed, I'm sure.
When you woke up, was it over your face still, or did someone remove it from your face beforehand?
And
if you don't know, that's...
I'm not positive.
Okay. What's the first thing you do remember when you woke up?
When I woke up, the first thing I remembered, I was on a gurney outside my bedroom, and the EMTs were giving me oxygen.
So when the ladies got there and they found you unconscious, you never woke up during that time until...
No, I did not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't think I have any more questions for you, but I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple things. You said that you didn't want to stay by yourself. Who did stay with you after this?
My son John took 3 months of family leave to stay with me.
Okay, to make sure that you were okay to take care of.
Yes.
What was going through your mind when, from the minute those gloves started coming towards you, what was going through your mind?
Well, as I mentioned, two things. Number one, I should not have opened the door. And number two, my life was in grave danger.
And those thoughts continued throughout this whole encounter with this man, is that right?
Well, yes, definitely.
What is your height and weight?
My height is 5 feet 3 inches. I would say my weight at that time was about 125.
I think that's all the questions I have for you. I'll pass witness.
Be back in the jury room at, let's make it about 110, 115. That way gives you a pretty good little break there. So as soon as everyone
there, So they took a really long break. It's up to you guys what you want to do, because I got to go pick up my daughter. I can let the video play, and if you guys want to listen to the rest of it, or if you're good with that for now. Let's see. Let's see where it ends right here. Somebody else does come to speak. This is a resident that lived in the community center. I can play this if you guys, the people that are listening to the story, I know people probably need a break. I can probably start this part right here. Or unless you just want me to pause it and come back. or whatever, or I could just leave it playing and I'll be back. But I mean, it's kind of an interesting story. I mean, it's just kind of crazy how many people. I never really even heard of that. Like somebody. I mean, I've heard of these crazy parents smothering their kids, their babies, and just passing it off as SIDS or whatever. But I never really heard of like an adult thing. These grown people, somebody like this guy, creeping and taking advantage of the elderly, and like in a smothering technique type of way, and getting away with it for so long. Apparently, play it. Okay, so I'll play it and I'll be back in about 20 minutes. AFK, I love it, Mel. I'm not built for these lives. Honestly, I'm really not built for these lives. I guess next time I'll have to plan out a little bit better. Next time we do like a full trial. But yeah, I'll just play it and I'll be back. You guys can listen to this. Let me see here. Hold on a second.
We'll call Richard Queen.
Hopefully nothing crazy happens while I'm gone.
If you would please raise your right hand for me. Do you so solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your name?
My name is Richard Plank.
Can you spell your last name?
Yes, it's P as in Peter, L-I-N-C-K.
And Mr. Quinn, do you live here in the Dallas, Fort Worth metropolitan area?
Yes, I live in Allen.
In Allen, okay. Now, I'm going to direct your attention to, we've been hearing a lot today about March 19th. I want to direct your attention to March 15th, okay, of 2018. Did you have your mother, did she live at 5000 Old Shepherd Place?
Correct.
And tell me about that facility. What kind of a facility is it?
It's a seniors independent living. So you have to be pretty functional. There's no assistance there. You may have, there may be people that would have caregivers or therapists, but it's essentially, independent living.
About how many years do you recall your mom living there?
She lived there about 18 years.
So I'm assuming you visited her often at that location?
Yes, at least a couple times a week.
And back in 2018, did you visit her on March 15th of 2018?
Yes, I did, and I was taken to a doctor's appointment.
What building did she live in?
She lived in Building 8.
Permission to approach.
You may.
Let me show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 64. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And is that a diagram or a layout, basically, of the prosecutors requirement?
Yes, it is.
We'll offer State's Exhibit number 64. No objections, Your Honor.
All right, State Exhibit number 64 will be admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Okay, if I'm looking at State's Exhibit number 64, to the top up here, let's look at here at the top of State's Exhibit number 64. It's on the corner of Old Shepherd and Preston Road. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, you were talking about Building 8. Is that the building that your mom lived in?
Yes, it is.
And did you know Mary Bartel?
Yes, I did.
And did she also live in Building 8?
Yes, she did. She lived on the first floor.
And your mom lived on the second floor?
Correct.
And when we look at State's Exhibit number 64, this kind of gray shaded area here, what is that gray shaded area there?
That would be the part, like the parking lot, the drive-through.
Okay. And back over here on this backside, is that kind of like a green lawn type area back there?
Yes, it is.
Now, your mom, was her a one-bedroom or a two-bedroom?
It was a one-bedroom.
And but Miss Bartel had a two-bedroom that spanned the entire distance of that building.
Yes, it is. Yes.
All right. So on March 15th you said you went there that morning to pick up your mom and take her to a doctor.
Correct.
And what time did you pick her up?
10 a.m.
And how long did you stay gone with her, and what time did you come back?
Came back at 12:30. We went to the doctor's appointment, and then after that we went out for lunch. So we returned around 12:30.
At 10 o'clock in that parking area outside of Building 8, did you see anyone or notice anyone that was out there?
Yes, I did.
And what did you notice?
Well, I noticed a gentleman standing there, fairly well dressed, and with a car there, right by his car, and but nowhere really, no specific place to go. Didn't appear headed with any direction or coming from anywhere.
And what type of car was it?
It was a Nissan.
A Nissan Altima?
Altima, yes. Silvers.
Okay. And so you saw this individual in the morning, and then you went to go to your appointment, and then when you came back, did you notice?
Doesn't object to the leading.
I'm just establishing what he'd already said to get to my next question.
Oh, we'll watch the lead.
Yes, Judge. So you saw him that morning, you went to your appointment. When you came back, did you notice anything?
Yes, I noticed the same individual there in pretty much the same area and the same type of behavior. Nowhere specific to go and not coming from anywhere specific.
Now, what did you do? Were you with your mom at this point?
I was with my mom at the time, and then what I did is I took her up to her apartment, and at this point I was a little suspicious because about 2.5 hours had elapsed, and it just, seemed suspicious to me. So I took her up to her apartment, and she was pretty self-sufficient, so she was getting settled. Okay. And then I looked out the window from her because it looks onto that causeway where you can actually see where the cars can drive around, and I noticed that the car moved.
Where did it move from?
It moved from Building 8 to Building 9.
Okay, so if we look back on State's Exhibit number 64, you have Building 8 here. Is this Building 9?
Correct.
And so it moved from parking in that direction to parking somewhere in front of Building 8?
Yes.
Okay. And then, and you watched that happen?
Yeah, I actually saw the car moving. And then that piqued my, suspicion even more.
And so what time did you leave there about?
I left there probably around 12:40, 12:45. It was not much time that lapsed at all.
And did you have an occasion to go and talk to the man that was in this car?
Yeah, when I saw that happen, I decided I'm going to get the make, model, color, and the license plate of the car. So I decided I would approach, because I didn't think I could get all of it in one shot. So I thought, well, I can visually get the make, model, and color. I'll approach the individual, and I will just, see what he has to say. So, which is what I did. And I asked him if I could help him. And I don't really recall what he said, but he did respond back, and that was fine enough for me. So then, at that point, what I did is I went back to my car, got in the car, and then drove past Building 9 where I noted the license number.
And then you noted the license number, and then did you do anything with that information with that license number?
Yeah, well, what I did was, I drove past actually Building 10 and made from Building 10, I made a left-hand turn because I wanted to be out of sight. So I started entering into my phone the license number, and then that's when the individual drove past me. And just drove past me, and then I noted the information, and then what I did is I reported it to the office.
The office there at Preston Place?
Yes.
Permission to approach?
You may.
Let me show you what's marked in State's Exhibit number 62 and 63. Is that a picture of the car that you saw that day?
Yes, it is.
And it had a license plate that you noted down?
Yes, it is.
And what was the license plate that you noted down?
KGM 1520.
We'll offer State's Exhibit number 62 and 63.
State's Exhibits number 62 and 63 will be read.
Commissioner Polish.
You may.
Here's State's Exhibit number 62. Was that the license plate, the Nissan Altima with license plate KGM 1520?
Yes.
And then here's a side view of that same vehicle. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, do you recognize that individual that you talked to that day here in the courtroom?
I kind of didn't really get a big notice of the individual. Yes.
That's fine. Now, when you went up to approach him, what did y'all talk about?
I just asked if I could help him, and I believe he said I was.
I'm going to object to hearsay, Your Honor.
Mr. Martin?
Well, you asked him. Okay, so don't get into what he responded.
Okay.
What did you ask him?
I asked him if I could be of assistance.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Plink, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. My name is Colton Warren, and I represent Mr. Chmirmir in these proceedings, and I just have a couple of questions for you, okay?
Okay, sure.
So on that day back on March 15th of 2018, I guess, so that the jury is clear, the only thing that you thought was a little odd or peculiar was that when you left around 10-something that morning to take your mom to the doctor and then eventually lunch, when you came back, you said you saw the same vehicle there, is that correct?
Saw the same vehicle and the same individual
Okay.
in the exact same spots.
Okay. And to be fair, you have no idea if that vehicle had moved during that 2-hour time frame, correct?
That is true.
Okay.
That is true.
And when you left and when you came back, prior to speaking to whoever you spoke to in that car, you have no idea what their business was during that time frame also, is that right?
That is true.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. I'll pass it with you.
Well, the individual that you talked to, you asked him what his business was, right?
Well, I asked if I could help him.
Okay, and what did he say?
The judge don't object to saying hearsay.
Well, he's now he can answer the question because it might be hearsay, but he asked what the business was, and the man told him what he was there for.
Your legal objection is hearsay,
Yes, ma'am.
and your response is that he asked him a direct question and he answered?
Well, it's now his present sense impression of what the man was there for because he's asking. It's not even off for the truth of the matter asserted. It's just he asked, "What is he there for?" And this is now to answer that question.
I didn't ask for his response in regards to what he was there for. I asked him, he didn't have no idea what his business was there. I didn't ask him what his response was in regards to this question.
It's Judge, I'll withdraw. It's fine.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fitzmartin.
Nothing further from this one.
Okay. All right. Anything further, Mr. Warren?
Nothing, Ms. Witness, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, make this witness be excused.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, you are excused. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
You ready for the answer?
Yes, Detective Johnson.
Okay. Thank you. Will you please raise your right hand for me?
Yes, ma'am.
So solemnly swear to find the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Detective Johnson. Can you please state your name
George Johnson,
and how are you employed?
for the City of Plano, Plano Police Department,
How long have you been with the City of Plano?
over 21 years.
And what is your current assignment?
I work in the Plano Police Department's intelligence unit.
And were you working in that capacity back in 2018 around March?
Yes, sir.
On March the 19th, did you become involved in an investigation that led to the arrest of Billy Chemirmir?
Yes, sir.
How did you get started in this investigation?
Detective Turbiarte had requested research on a subject in a vehicle associated with the investigation they were working.
And the vehicle that they had information on, do you recall what type of vehicle that was?
Yes, sir. That was a Nissan Altima.
And was there a license plate associated with that Nissan?
Yes, sir. It was King George Mary 1520.
And based on that information that they had, did you start doing research on that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
What type of things do you do to do research on a vehicle?
When I research a vehicle, I use various databases. Most are databases that are paid by our department, like Accurate, TLO. There's Learn, which is a database that captures license plates, Texas driver's license database, National Crime Information Center Network, and so forth.
So these license plate website or databases, what exactly is that?
What that is, again, it's a service that our department pays for, many departments pay for, and there are cameras that are on police cars and actually other commercial vehicles like tow trucks that capture license plates at different locations. We can put a license plate in this database and see when that license plate was captured, the date and time and location of where that vehicle was located.
So you put a date range in, and you say that license plate hit at all these different times in all these different locations.
Yes, sir.
And does it just give you the license plate, or does it give you a picture of the car, or what type of information?
Sometimes, most of the time it gives you a picture of the car. If it's at nighttime, sometimes you can't actually see the car, but for the most part you can see, especially daytime, a picture of the car also.
And you can see, based on that information, can you use any of that information to look for trends?
Yes, sir.
So the license plate that you had, the KGM 1520, did that come back to a registered owner?
Yes, sir. It came back to the Tom Ogden.
Okay. And spell that last name.
Ondeng, which is Ocean Nora David Edward Nora George.
And when you started looking at the trends of that license plate of the hits, did it seem to match up to you that it was Mr. Onding's car?
No, sir, it did not.
Why is that?
I found that Mr. Ogden actually had 3 vehicles registered in his name. His driver's license address was 7220 McAllen Boulevard. The vehicle that we're talking about, the Nissan Altima, wasn't hitting on Learn at that address, but was hitting at 4500 Pear Ridge in Dallas. But one of the other vehicles that was registered in was hitting at his address at 7220 McAllen, indicating that he was most likely driving the other vehicle, which led me to believe that he was not driving the Nissan Altima.
All right, so this address of 4500 Pear Ridge came up over and over again in association with this Nissan Altima.
Yes, sir. There was multiple hits on the Learn system between January and March of 2018 at that address.
Now, did you look for any police reports regarding that license plate of KGM 1520?
Yes, sir. I was requested any Dallas reports, and I received an accident report showing that Chmirmir was driving the vehicle on March 17th of that year, 2018.
Permission to approach?
Yes.
Commissioner, you state exhibit number 65. Is this a copy of that accident report?
Yes, sir, it is.
We'll offer state's exhibit number 65, attending defense inspection.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, state's number 65 will be admitted.
Permission to publish?
Yes.
The first page of this is just a records affidavit. So can you tell that this was, what type of an accident this was?
Yes, sir. It was a single vehicle accident where, or not single vehicle accident, but the Chmirmir had struck another unattended vehicle.
And it's got the driver of Unit 1 listed right there. Is that name spelled correctly?
No, sir.
But nonetheless, it linked you to, it gave you a name of Chemirmir. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And this happened, you said, on what date?
It was on the 17th of March, about 2 a.m.
And so you're looking, this is on March 19th is when you're doing your research, and this had happened just 2 days before.
Yes, sir.
In the early morning hours of March 17th.
Yes, sir.
So now that you had a name of Billy Chemirmir, did you start doing research on Billy Chemirmir?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to develop a phone number that linked to Billy Chemirmir?
Yes, sir. I was able to locate a phone number.
Okay. Did you also develop an alias to Billy Chemirmir as well?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember what that alias?
It was Benjamin Kubota, if I don't master the last name.
Maybe Koitoba?
Kotoba, yes, sir.
Can you spell that again for us?
Yes, ma'am. It's going to be Koitaba, and that's King, Ocean, Ida, Tom, Adam, Boy, Adam.
Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
So you had a name, you had an alias, you had a phone number. Did you look to see if there's any outstanding warrants for Mr. Chmirmir?
Yes, sir. I found that he had an outstanding warrant for public intoxication out of the Dallas Police Department.
Can I take this with me somewhere diary?
You may.
So, Detective Johnson, I see that you're up there reviewing something. Can you tell me exactly what it is you're reviewing?
This is my supplemental report, sir.
Can I approach you now?
You may.
May I touch?
Sure.
Any other reports?
It's a copy of the accident report. This is a search warrant for his phone. This is a briefing sheet that I provided other detectives the next morning. The rest of these are just other reports.
If I'm a detective and reading off these reports, he needs to recollect his memory. The fresh assurance has to be done so properly.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Martin, you may proceed.
May I approach?
You may.
She was from March 6, number 66. Is that a copy of the arrest warrant for Billy Chemirmir?
Yes, sir.
Law for State's number 66.
And we'll review our previous objections, Judge, in regards to State's Exhibit number 66.
All right, so noted.
Is it admitted, Judge?
It is admitted.
And this basically is just an arrest warrant for a Class C ticket for public intoxication.
Yes, sir.
So this is happening on the 19th. On the 20th, did you and other detectives of the Plano Police Department get together to discuss what you had found?
Yes, sir.
And what did you all decide to do as far as apprehending Mr. Chmirmir?
I did a briefing sheet and we had pictures of him, associates, vehicles, map locations, and provided to several other detectives in our department. provided phone numbers for himself, his wife, Detective Benzic, to get GPS locations for his phone to find him, to arrest him for the location. Researched other possible locations he could be, and sent several detectives in different areas where he could possibly be.
Basically, any address that you had that might have been associated with Mr. Chmirmir, you had detectives out looking for him in those locations.
Yes, sir.
You had mentioned that Detective Benzic. Is that another detective at the Plano Police Department?
Yes, sir.
And is Detective Benzic kind of a specialist in phones and technology?
Yes, sir.
Was there a warrant written for Mr. Chmirmir's phone?
Yes, sir.
And tell us what that does.
Detective Benzic did an evidentiary and a GPS, warrant to the phone company requesting historical records and GPS locations for Chemirmir's phone.
And when that information comes back in, how is it sent back in to you all as far as the GPS location?
Via email, sir, every 15 minutes.
And were you one of the recipients of the information that came back on that on those emails?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall what time your first email came back in with a potential location of Mr. Chmirmir's phone?
I do not recall the exact time. I'd have to refer to my supplement, sir.
Commissioner Approach.
You may.
Show you your supplement.
Yes, sir. It was at 17:32 hours.
Okay. So that was the first report. The first ping came back. Is that what we call them, kind of pings?
Yes, sir.
All right. The first ping comes back at 7:32, or I'm sorry, 5:32 for those of us that aren't that familiar with military time. So at 5:32, the first ping comes back. Did that give you a whole lot of information?
It showed that Chmirmir was in the area, but at the time the ping radius is large, and so it just showed that he was possibly in that area.
And the area that it was centering around, was it close to his home?
Yes, sir.
Did you receive 15 minutes later another ping?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Approach.
You may.
And what time was your next ping?
It was at 5:47.
And then there again, was that, did it put you right on him, or did it put you kind of, again, too generalized to find?
Yeah, just in the area, sir.
Now, where are you when all of this information is coming in?
I was at the Plano Police Station, sir.
And how are you communicating with other detectives?
I'm on the radio with them, and also calling them on the phone.
And you said you're part of the intelligence unit.
Yes, sir.
And there are other members of this intelligence unit in different areas of town trying to work this out.
Yes, sir. And at the time, most of us are at that 4500 Pear Ridge, just because that was the best known location for him at the time.
Did you learn of that Mr. Chmirmir was apprehended?
Yes, sir.
You know exactly the time?
I believe it was 17:55 hours off the top of my head.
After that, where did you go, or what did you do?
At that time, I didn't go to the scene of the arrest, but later I'd gone down and kept eyes on apartment, I believe it's 3110, which is Chmirmir's apartment, until a search warrant was completed there.
So after the arrest, you go to that 4500 Pier Ridge to keep an eye on the apartment while the search warrants are being written.
Yes, sir.
And did anyone come or go from that apartment while you were watching?
Not that I recall, sir.
I'll pass it.
All right. Mr. Warren, any questions?
and I think you kind of cleared up a little bit with Mr. Fitzmartin, but when you say, you guys were describing that Chemirmir was in the area, but what the data actually tells you is that the device or the phone is what's sending the ping. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have no idea who may have that phone or anything to that effect. Is that correct?
That's not correct, sir.
How so?
Because we were able to identify that from previous information. We got that he was utilizing that phone number, which leads us to believe that he would be in the area, sir.
Right, so when you're receiving these pings, I believe you said at 532 and 547, you just knew that that phone number associated, or you believe was associated with Mr. Chemirmir, was that correct?
Correct.
You didn't know if what individual actually may have had that phone, correct?
No, sir.
Until the person was arrested, you had no idea who had the phone, right?
Not correct, sir.
Okay, how not?
Because based on the research we did, we believed he had the phone.
Correct, you believe, but you didn't know until he was arrested, correct? It's a simple yes or no answer. You just stated you believed that he had that phone.
Yes, sir.
And until he was arrested was when you were certain that he had a phone, correct?
Yes, sir, until we were certain that he had a phone, correct.
Thank you, that's all I did.
You actually got a third ping, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall what time that third ping came in?
I believe it was at 6:02 hours, but I'd have to look at my supplement to make sure.
Where's your coach?
You might.
Yes, sir, it was at 6:02 hours.
And where did that ping hit from at 6:02?
It was hit at the arrest location of the Chmirmir.
So you went from the first ping was really wide, second ping was smaller, and the third ping was right where he was arrested.
Yes, sir. That last ping was very small.
I'll pass it.
No, that's further on.
All right, thank you. May this witness be excused?
No objection, Judge.
No objection, John.
All right, you are excused. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Call Detective Claggett.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You please raise your right hand, please. Do you so solemnly swear to affirm to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you so much. You may be seated.
May I proceed, Judge?
You may.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can you please state your name and spell your last name?
Joe Claggett, Claggett.
And how are you employed?
I am a detective with the Plano Police Department.
How long have you been with the Plano Police Department?
Over 24 years.
And what division are you assigned to?
I'm assigned to the intelligence unit.
We just heard from Detective Johnson. Is he one of the other members of your intelligence unit?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to direct your attention to March 20th of 2018. Were you involved in the arrest and investigation of Billy Chmirmir?
Yes, sir, I was.
Tell me what, that morning or earlier in that day of 3/20, where did you go?
I was directed to go to 4500 Pear Ridge in an attempt to locate Mr. Chmirmir.
And is that the Rancho Palisades Apartments?
Yes, sir.
You had an address that you thought might be his address and apartment?
That's correct.
When you went to investigate that, did you learn that there was a different number that he was more recently associated with?
Yes, sir. Originally, we believed it was apartment 531, but after contacting leasing staff, I realized he was probably in apartment 3110.
And then did apartment 3110 have a specific parking spot assigned to it?
Yes, sir. Number 67.
So you now have the parking spot, the apartment number, and the best place to try to find Billy Chmirmir. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So what do you all do as a team in regards to that information?
We set up in our vehicles in the parking lot around that apartment and different parts of the complex.
You also have someone keep an eye on the apartment itself to make sure that there is nothing going?
As best we could, yes.
Permission to approach?
Yes.
She states exhibit number 67. Is this a, what is states exhibit number 67?
This is a map of the apartment complex, Rancho Palisades.
Rancho Palisades there at 4500.
Yes, sir.
Walker states exhibit number 67.
No objection.
Okay, so states exhibit number 67 will be in there.
All right, so as we're looking at states exhibit number 67, just to get kind of oriented here, you got Frankfurt Road here. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
And then this is Pier Ridge right here, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So really, it should be oriented, if you think of north as up, okay?
Correct.
So that's how it would sit. And further over here on the carpet area will be the toll road.
Yes, sir.
Going north and south.
Yes, sir.
All right, so there's some, you've marked up, or someone has marked up this, this area of, that's closer to, there's an X right here. What is located underneath that X?
That would be denoting apartment 3110, the building that contains apartment 3110.
Okay. And then you have written down here arrest location is at spot 67.
Yes, sir.
And then there's a name here, Plaggett. That's your name, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's where you were set up there. Were you in a car or are you standing outside?
I was in my vehicle.
All right. And then there's a Hughes over here. What is that?
That is Sergeant Hughes. He's sergeant of the surveillance unit for Plain Police Department.
There's initials of BK right there.
Correct.
Who would that be?
That's Detective Bill Knight, who's also a member of the surveillance unit.
There's a Garcia over here.
Yes.
And who's that right there?
That's Sergeant Dominic Sala, who at the time was a sergeant over the intelligence unit.
And then there's one other name here, Harris.
Yes, that was Detective Glenn Harris.
And so you all have kind of stationed yourselves so that any in or out of this location, you'd have eyes on whoever's coming and going.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me direct your attention to about maybe around say around 5:50 in the evening. Did you get a call on your radio about activity happening?
Yes, I did.
And who was that from?
That was from Sergeant Hughes. He advised that he observed a car pulling in from west to east and that it was possibly being driven by Mr. Chmirmir.
All right, and there's some arrows here. So that's an entry coming in, you're saying from west to east. And then are these arrows showing the direction that car drove?
That is correct.
And as that car is driving, as new eyes are picking him up, are you hearing that over the radio? I see him now and
yes, sir.
And relaying to you. That's how your team works.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At some point in time, do you see that car?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and where does that car go?
That car drove directly in front of my vehicle, west to east. It then bypassed spot 67 and continued east out of my view.
And over here, it's written on here, a dumpster.
Yes, sir.
Why is that significant?
Detective Knight, marked as BK, advised via the radio that that is where...
I'm going to hear somebody testifying as to what Detective Knight saw. Well,
It goes towards the investigation and what his team was doing and relying on that information as part of the investigation.
All right, so it'll be overruled. You may continue.
Okay. So were you given any information about what happened there at that dumpster?
That Mr. Chemirmir had stopped the vehicle there and had exited the vehicle.
Okay. And did he make any, did he exit the vehicle and go anywhere or leave the vehicle or what?
He was just around the dumpster. I don't recall any other information given at that point.
At some point in time, do you know how long that took for him to be over there, or how long from when you lost sight of him to when you saw him again, approximately?
As best as I can recall, a couple minutes possibly at the most.
At some point in time, do you see him again?
Correct.
And do you recall what kind of car he was in?
It was a gray Hyundai, I believe a four-door. It had Tennessee license plates on it. They do know that.
And where did that car go to at that point in time?
I observed the car coming back to the west, and it pulled into, nose in, into spot 67.
So once it gets into spot 67, what happens next?
At that point, with most of us believing that was in fact Mr. Chemirmir, we decided to effect the arrest for his outstanding warrant. I then exited my vehicle and approached him wearing my police vest with clear police markings. I went
Let me just stop you there. So are you in civilian clothes at that time?
That is correct, sir. Yes.
So you're not wearing a uniform, or you're not in a marked squad car or anything?
No, sir.
In fact, what about the rest of your team? Are they?
We are not in. We are in unmarked vehicles, and we wear plain clothes.
But you do have, for your protection, I'm assuming, some sort of safety gear when you're actually going to go and do something.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
We wear a vest that has ballistic protection on it. Also has our radio and the police equipment we would need, and we always make sure we have clear markings that say police across the front and back.
And are you armed?
Yes, sir.
So when you make the approach to this car that's parked in number 67, what do you say or what do you do?
I approach him and I see that it's Mr. Chemirmir. The car door was open. I identified myself as police, tell him to get out of the vehicle. At that point, I got no reaction from him. I observed that the police equipment we would need, and we always make sure we have clear markings that say police across the front and back.
And are you?
I'm just looking at it because it's been so long. I don't normally stream that long usually, because even with the Ronnie O'Neal trial, like they didn't put out the full thing, so we're getting bits and pieces. I know for a lot of people, like this is kind of a lot to take in. And I don't know if you guys have ever been on jury duty before. There was one case, James Layritz, a Florida case that I was on, which was like a month long. It was crazy. There was some interesting points, but most of the time it's not the like entertainment that people are expecting when you're sitting in the courtroom. I mean, the Kyle Rittenhouse, like I said earlier, I think it seems like that has been like a fiasco. Like that I would actually listen to, but this is kind of just an introductory video, a story that I saw that I was like, oh, this is interesting, this guy. But most of the process, I guess, normally it's like this, just kind of going through the motions, you know what I'm saying? And I just picked up my daughter, so she's here now with me too. But after this guy, they take a little break, which I'm going to skip past. And then I guess we'll listen a little bit to the rest, because I feel like I want to get the day one done. I put the links for this full video, this live stream, in the description, and I also put for day 2 in the description as well. It got cut off though. Today's day 2. I guess they had some sort of issues or something. I think they only did half a day. So I mean, I've always kind of done this, like things that aren't that popular, even though I know logically I should do the popular thing, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes you just never know what comes from these different things. And that's kind of what happened with that, the body in the canal, a random story that nobody gave a ish about. This person's ex-wife calls me and tells me this guy's like life story. You know what I'm saying? It's just weird how things happen in life. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to introduce this, especially for the Texas people, to be aware of your surroundings. Even if you're not elderly, you know, if you have parents or grandparents or people out there stalking them, waiting to take advantage of them, some of the most, I don't know, disgusting people in society that are just trying to pick on kids and elderly and anybody they think they could take advantage of, you know?
Are you armed?
Yes, sir.
So when you make the approach to this car that's parked in number 67, what do you say or what do you do?
I approach him and I see that it's Mr. Chemirmir. The car door was open. I identified myself as police, tell him to get out of the vehicle. At that point, I got no reaction from him. I observed that when I approach him on the driver's side, I observed that in his left hand, he is carrying a clear plastic bag with jewelry and also holding a white envelope in that hand. I repeatedly tell him he's under arrest to get out of the car. He will not get out of the car. So I pulled him out of the vehicle and proned him out in the parking lot.
Were the other detectives that were working with you, did they start showing up as well?
Yes, everybody converged on the vehicle.
When you approached him, was your weapon drawn?
Yes, it was.
And did he clearly see you? Could you
clearly
lock eyes?
Yes, he clearly saw me.
And how many times do you think you asked him to get out of the car? Commanded him?
At least 3 times.
But he wasn't done.
He was not coming out of the car.
You had to extract him
Physically,
from the car.
yes, physically extract him from the vehicle.
The items that were in his hands, what happened to those?
Those then spilled out onto the ground and were retrieved by one of the other people out there on the scene.
Your focus was on Mr.
My
Chmirmir.
focus was on Mr. Chmirmir.
For your safety and for his safety.
Correct.
Commissioner Roach?
Okay.
I'm sure what's your mark states exhibits 68, 69, 70, and 71. You recognize these?
Yes, I do.
Okay. 68 and 69, what are they?
Those are pictures of Mr. Chemirmir.
States exhibit number 70.
That is a picture of the vehicle that he was in.
Hanging on the rear bumper, are those the items from
I do see
71 is a close-up.
Yes, that's the bag I saw. And then I did see an envelope. And then, yes, that's apparently the money that was in the envelope. It appeared that there was a lot of money in it. I didn't count the money like that. It appeared like there was a large stack of bills in that envelope.
We'll offer states exhibit 68, 69, 70, and 71.
All right, states exhibits 68 through 71, when they get ready.
States exhibit number 68. Do you recognize do you see Mr. Chmirmir in the courtroom today?
I could see.
Looking
that
crazy
was
as
Mr.
hell.
Chemirmir right there at the end of the table closest to me.
Okay, can you describe maybe what does his tie look like?
I can't, if you could, sir, if you could turn my way, it looks like it's black and white. At least the top part of it, that's all I can see.
Okay. Well, let the record reflect the witness and identify the defendant on the court.
The record will so reflect that the defendant was identified in open court.
And that's the same individual that you arrested that day?
Yes, sir.
And this is how he was dressed and how he appeared that day too?
Yes, sir.
There's exhibit 69. Another angle of Mr. Chmirmir.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
You had said that this Sonata had Tennessee plates. Is this the Sonata parked in spot 67 that you removed Mr. Chemirmir from?
Yes, sir.
In State's Exhibit number 71, are these the items that were in Mr. Chemirmir's hands when you extracted him from that car?
The jewelry and the, I believe that's the envelope with the money. Yes, sir.
And you know that there was money, it looked like a lot of bills inside there, but,
yes.
But you just know that that stuff was in his hands?
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes, sir.
Right here in State's Exhibit number 71, there's also a phone right there as well, is that right?
Yes, sir. Appears to be.
I mean, I honestly feel like a lot of this stuff could just be highlighted in a shorter video, depending on the case and stuff, you know, like, it's normally, this is how trials are. It's not like this TV show or whatever that's entertaining. Just, and I know it's a weird way to look at it, but that's just the public. This guy reminds me of, the Grim Sleeper, California. Lonnie something? What's his name? Grim Sleeper. Lonnie David Franklin.
I'll pass witness.
All right, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a brief break. I will ask the witness to step down, and you can go and wait for us to return. And at this time, we will go ahead and take about a 10-minute break or so.
That's the break.
Do you solemnly swear affirm to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, you may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you may proceed, Mr. Colton.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Harry, can you please introduce yourself and spell your last name?
Yes, sir. My name is Fred Garcia. Last name is spelled Garcia.
And how are you employed?
I am a detective with the Plano Police Department.
What division are you assigned to?
Currently, I am assigned to the Technical Liaison Unit as the lead tech, supporting our Criminal Investigation Division.
Back on March 20th of 2018, what division were you assigned to?
I was assigned to CID, our Criminal Investigation Division.
And so, when in working in that capacity, were you helping out in the investigation of Billy Chmirmir?
Yes, sir, I was.
And we've already heard from Detective Claggett, Detective Johnson, who are in the intelligence unit, and their work on trying to locate and apprehend Mr. Chmirmir.
Yes, sir.
Where were you located around the 5:50, 6 o'clock hour of March the 20th?
So I was located in, I guess it was a building south of his actual building apartment, monitoring an external camera that I had set up earlier.
Okay. Well, let me go back a little bit before we get to that. Earlier that day, did you have an occasion to look into a Nissan Altima?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what did you do as far as the Nissan Altima is concerned?
The Nissan Altima is located at the impound lot here in Dallas. So Detective Johnson, I believe it was, asked me to go take a look at it because it was a vehicle of interest, and went down to the impound lot, took a look around, didn't see anything of any real value inside that I could see just openly.
But you were able to locate the Nissan Altima?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Permission to approach.
You may.
To show you State's Exhibit number 72.
Yeah, I guess they're talking to just officers. I looked a little bit at the second day, and the second day had like a witness. I mean, I'm not really. I mean, to go through all
Is
this.
that the condition that you found the Nissan Altima at the impound?
Yes,
It's
sir,
a
it
lot,
is.
yo. It really is a lot. I don't even like to stream this long. We're almost 4 hours. Like,
Law Officer State's Exhibit number 72.
No, there's none.
All right, State's Exhibit number 72 will be,
Permission to publish?
you may.
So State's Exhibit number 72, we've already seen State's Exhibit number 63. That's another picture from there at the impound lot. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit number 62, which shows that unique license plate at KGN 1520.
Yes, sir.
And then you can see that, and we already heard that there was an accident report from the 17th involving this car having run into another car where Billy Chemirmir was the person driving the car.
yeah, I'm gonna let this play for a little bit, and then I think at this point we'll just cut it. And I'll put the links in the description for whoever wants to see it. You know what I'm saying? You guys can check it out. You know what I'm saying?
And this is how the car looked to you that morning.
Yes, sir, it was.
And so when you all are looking for Mr. Chemirmir, you know you shouldn't be looking for the Nissan Altima. Is that right?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, good. And so you don't know what car to look for at that point in time, do you?
That's correct, sir.
So everybody's just kind of got all eyes out on this 4500 Heritage.
Yes, sir.
And you had said something about a camera or something like that at his apartment. Tell me about that.
So I set up what I call a little box camera. It looks like a little electrical box that was set up in a public area at the end of his building hallway, I guess it was. Just trying to see if I could see anybody come in or out of that apartment door.
And that's throughout the day on the 20th.
Yes, sir.
And were you ever to pick up anybody coming in?
No, sir.
At some point in time, did you learn of the arrest of Mr. Chmirmir?
Yes, sir, I did.
And how did you find out about that?
So I was actually at that location, like I said, located about a building south of the actual apartment. So I had my radio on and was able to hear everything that was transpiring as it occurred.
All right, I'm done. To be honest, I'm done. I'll keep it real. I'm done. It's been kind of long. I'll put the links in the description. I feel like for something, and this is kind of like trial and error, for something this long, it just has to be like, I don't know, that I'm on it. But I just wanted to introduce it. Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't think they've decided yet. Let me take a quick look. Let's see. No, I think they're still. Let's see. Kyle Rittenhouse. That would have been a roller coaster. Had I covered that, oh my god. Let's see live. Let's see. No, they're still deciding, man. I don't know if you guys have ever been on a trial. It was kind of a shit show. That is true. The trial. I saw that the judge, they were trying to cancel him. I think he said something about Chinese food or something. They wanted to cancel this dude. There was a whole Daily Mail article. Also, I don't know. I just remember when I was on trial for this guy, James Layritz. I've spoken about it a couple of times. And that was kind of like a controversial story. James Layritz. DUI. Baseball player for the Yankees. They got into DUI. I became friends with the jury for the temporary time. They would send me cards. I'd never sent anything back, but they used to send me cards to my house. We were chilling after the trial, like deliberating, and we get to order whatever food is local. And we were joking about that, like, oh, we could order pizza, Chinese, maybe we'll just order both. It was interesting. It wasn't exciting or entertaining, but it was more of like an experience, And I can only imagine, like, when I see this, not this trial, but when I saw a little bit, I only watched like 30, 40 minutes of Kyle Rittenhouse. And when I thought about the George Floyd trial, I was like, these people don't have a choice. The jury, they don't have a choice because the day and age that we're in, set aside your feelings. The day and age that we're in, society and these people, the cancel mob, they're finding out the jury, where they live. They're doxing them, putting out their names, their address. They're threatening them. They're doxing and threatening the judge. How is any kind of jury supposed to come to any kind of conclusion based on what's presented? Right? They don't got a choice. They don't got a choice. You got to go with the mob, or they're going to find you and cancel you. I don't know. But as far as this story and the elderly people, that's just, to me, it's kind of crazy that somebody could go all this time slipping between the cracks and smothering these people, right? And then I guess it's the point of like trying to prove it. How do you prove all that? You know, smothering people. That's crazy. And then you just show up in court with a tie and just acting normal. I mean, you know, it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but then that whole thing comes into play where, and I've talked to Terry about this, reasonable doubt. You know, if you ever do a trial, you'll learn about reasonable doubt. And then what is the line of reasonable doubt, you know? Sally says, well, COVID got so bad for us. So many are nursing homes, a literal bleeding ground. Yeah, they let them to die. I remember here in Florida, I forgot which hurricane it was. There was one hurricane while I was here that came by, and there was a nursing home by the hospital I used to work at that these people just abandoned all the elderly people there. And quite a few of them passed away and died. Let me see. Memorial Nursing Home deaths. Florida. I'll never forget it. At least 8 dead after Irma leaves Florida nursing home with no, with no AC. They just let the people to die. That's what it's kind of weird and it's kind of interesting because it feels like the elderly people are treated like some of the other people in society that people kind of just push to the side. Kind of like prostitutes, or if you've had a drug issue, you're pushed to the side. And that's what it made me think about Ronnie a little bit, the Grim Sleeper, the guy that played or preyed on not only women that were prostitutes, but black women that were prostitutes, mostly. And so he got away with it for a long time. This guy even had like a whole photo album and everything. The Grim Sleeper. If you never heard of that, that's an interesting story you should check out. Grim Sleeper. Weirdo. Grim Sleeper. Yeah, that was a horrible story. The whole, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, it's a tough situation to leave the elderly, your grandparents or your parents in like one of those homes because you just wonder, you don't really know what's going on, and they could get taken advantage of. And then who knows, they're putting them on meds and all kinds of stuff. And then when these people go to try to report something, well, they're told they're just crazy. Kind of like that witness that we watched where she said that they didn't really believe her at first, you know. And this guy too, Billy, he kind of adds on to the whole weird maintenance worker, healthcare worker, whatever the hell it is. I think about Mia Mercado and just these other weird stories where because somebody presents themselves as an authority figure or they're wearing a lab coat, people just trust, you know? And you shouldn't. That'd be careful, cautious. I mean, I think all the elderly people need to be carrying too. The lady I spoke to yesterday with this other story, she's like, "Yeah, I carry. I got my thing here. I'm ready. It's ready to pop off." I was like, "Damn, a nice little old lady. I'm ready to pop off. I got my shit here." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then the answering the door thing too, because she let this guy in. Man, I swear, sometimes the people that come knocking on the door, I don't open the door. I sometimes kind of crack the window maybe a little bit. But I really think too that people need to not only carry, but also have some sort of alarm system as well, and some sort of camera thing, at least at the door, a camera system, something, so you can put these wicked ass people away. Because technology is going to kill these people, these weirdos. You know what I'm saying? And what I learned, my time on that trial, the James Leyritz, what I learned during that time is that you should buy or hire an attorney. Don't get a public defender. If you have the money gets you a lot of things. You need to hire an attorney because that makes the world of a difference. When I saw what this guy, James Leyritz, the baseball player, what his attorney was bringing up, all the things that you would never even think of or imagine just to create reasonable doubt, which is what you need. I was like, holy crap. This guy's good. This guy's good. Hippie said, maintenance workers, baldos, and jewelry thieves. Yeah. Yeah, get yourself a lawyer, man. If you can do it, I know a lot of people, it's not easy, but if you have family or friends that love you, raise some money, get an attorney, man. That'll make all the difference. And don't talk. Shut up. Jason said, did you get your cameras hooked up? I haven't. I had somebody that said they could hook me up with a discount for Amazon Ring, but I haven't reached out to them. And I'm moving in December. I'm moving, so I'm trying to wait a little bit. But I do have an alarm. I spoke to somebody yesterday about firearms. She gave me some really good tips. I'm gonna be taking care of all that stuff. I'm gonna be rolling. You know what I'm saying? Because you just never know. And I'm not somebody that's into guns like that, but you never know. People are just so nutty and crazy. You say one thing and they're losing their minds, Ranch. Yeah, of course I'm in Florida. You know that. I think you're in Florida too. You told me. I've been keeping track of you, Ranch. I'm watching you have a notepad with your name in it and your location. I'm just kidding. But I remember you said you're in Florida, I think. I mean, there's been so many stories even recently where I hear, and this is Florida, where these random weirdos, they walk up to a house, they start standing outside, walking back and forth, pacing back and forth, wait for you to get you to your car, and then they just start watching you, they pull out a gun. I think there was 2 stories recently that I heard about something like that. These people crazy, man. And these people, the relationship thing too is crazy as well. And these people that are in relationships that somebody cheats and then they go and kill that person, they go and kill the kids, they kill everybody. I'm good. I'm good with all that. Y'all don't want the drama. I don't want the stress. Real link camera system with 24-hour recording. Damn. Yeah, I want a cameraman because even if I'm dead, whatever, that camera is going to come through after I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? Lock this person up for life, whatever, even if I'm dead. My 4 aluminum bats are now being moved to the garage. From the garage to the hall closet and bedroom closet. Yeah, I got myself a nice little bat too and a nice machete. I want to get a new one though. I saw this nice one on the website. Damn, Nicole said, dude, there was a Ring camera footage in my neighborhood where a lady was stabbing a Ring doorbell camera. What? Oh. Hey, Shannon. Yo, that's true. Hey, that's true. He did legally, he did the right thing. That's true. Hey, you gotta call it like it is. That is true. But anyway, man, yo, thank you guys so much. I can't believe we did 4 hours. Oh my God, 4 hours. What in the world? 4 hours. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. If you wouldn't mind, check out my Facebook. I'm trying to do this challenge thing on Facebook, but it's ridiculous. Like these people are just to try to do that for the views. It's just getting kind of crazy. But check out my Facebook if you have one. Just hit like on all the posts. And I might do an update on this woman Cookie, Body by Cookie, a missing person that I covered. She was claiming that she was being abused and all this kind of stuff, and she just posted a video today. Like while I was streaming, posted a video today. So I'm gonna check out and see what she had to say. Yeah, I don't know. Ugh, Lonnie. All right, guys, man. But you have a good night. Take care. Hit like and subscribe. Turn the bell notifications. Love you. Peace. Peace. Friday night, Discord. Again, tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Oh, no, today's Tuesday. Damn, I thought it was Thursday. Friday night, we'll be on Discord again. So, all right. Love you guys. Take care. Peace. Peace. Should have a verdict in 2 hours for Kyle. All right. I'm going to wait and see. I know people are going to lose their minds. Ooh, with Kyle? Oh, they're going to go crazy. What if they're going to take to the streets, burn shit down?